first down and goal for Baylor, and Brewer over the middle. He has Ebner in for a touchdown.
Welcome to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Guys just get open and make plays, I feel. So I really don't know what phonetic means, I'm not gonna lie.
Sic'Em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
He's embarrassed about it, so I'm glad that we're talking about it right now.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here is a handoff, and all the way to the house is Antonio Gibson. What a turn of events.
Have you downloaded the Sic'Em365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
And he loads up a long one down the sideline, single coverage. Great reaction by Snead, but it's waved off incomplete on the coverage from Keandre Thomas. Now let's see. Oh, they do say catch.
It's a completed pass.
It's a completion for Snead.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go on this very somewhat frigid, windy, cold. Finally, some cold weather that's hit Central Texas, just not for a day or two. Cold and windy, and we are here. And it's December. It's supposed to be cold, although we know in Texas tomorrow it could be 80 degrees. Good afternoon, Paul Catalina to my left. I'm David Smoke, Craig Smoke to my right. And after his quarantine from Thanksgiving, Armstrong Sims is back with us today. Armstrong, did you almost just decide, I don't miss these guys at all?
Well, when I got off the plane yesterday, I was getting calls about technical problems, and I was like, oh, boy. We're back in this world again.
Yeah, the one machine in this room I don't know how to work is the one that broke yesterday.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to fix that. We don't need to have any more errors. And by the way, Jack, really, he was fantastic. Tyler was fantastic. He did the show on, Saturday, the pregame show, postgame show. It also was with us on Friday. Really, it was for the most part, don't ever leave again. But at the same time, we know we have depth at that position. And so it's glad that, we got to get to a lot of Baylor stuff here, but did you get what you needed? Decompression?
Yes. It was
enjoy life.
It was very relaxing, good time with family. And it's good to know that we have people who can step in or capable of stepping in if for some reason I ever was to not be able to come in, If I got COVID, y'all would kick me out. And
if you got COVID,
these guys.
I wouldn't, but I would. Yeah, we would. We surely would. Okay, Baylor men's basketball plays tomorrow against Illinois. Scott Drew spoke for the first time in a while because he had COVID. We'll have that for you in a moment. Lady Bears play tonight. We had Dee Richards on yesterday, and we'll discuss that as well. And the Baylor football team got a commitment today, kind of gave you a little nudge towards that. Craig, we'll start with that and then get into Scott Drew, Paul Catalina, again, Sic'Em365 Radio. And we have some open lines here off the top of the show today at 254-339-1122, 254-339-1122 on Sic'Em365 Radio. We'd love to get your feedback. Monterey Baldwin, this is a position that they've had decommitments, and they right there in their own backyard, here they are.
Yeah, Shoemaker product. They had a very successful year, and, that's a district that we used to cover each week when we were doing Midway games. So Midway no longer in that district, no longer doing Midway, but we got to see plenty of Shoemaker and the rest of those KISD schools. And I remember Monterey Baldwin from last year when they played Midway, I believe. That name rang familiar to me and had seen his name throughout this season with Shoemaker's success. But, yeah, not a big guy. He's a smaller wide receiver, but he's a track-type guy. Has a very nice ability to find angles, find room, and just be explosive. And so, I'm sure others who are film junkies can break him down to an, even more cellular level. But, explosive, quick, fast, all the things you're looking for in a wide receiver from that standpoint, and can be a playmaker. So Monterey Baldwin is now bringing this class back up to 17 commits, and obviously signing day is right around the corner.
This young man can fly, and guess what? We'll hear from him. He'll join us live today at 3:30, Monterey Baldwin. They practice. Shoemaker practices today at about 4 o'clock, and their head coach, Toby Foreman, who I've gotten to know really well. He's been a part of this show a handful of times. He was on with us yesterday about Monterey. He said, yeah, we can make that available. We'll have him today at 3:30. With a couple of notes. By the way, did you know that the Cowboys and Washington football team in that Thursday game was the most watched NFL game this year since the Super Bowl?
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I mean, people have a captive audience. I mean, you're all
everyone's bunkered in, right?
You're bunkered in. I mean, it's COVID Thanksgiving, so yeah, I kind of have a hard time reconciling that 2, 3, and 7 teams.
God, stop
are
it.
The
Craig,
number one
what were you
game.
say?
I mean, it was Thanksgiving. There was only, 2 games to watch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you didn't have much of an option with the evening game getting canceled. That was the one that was right there in the middle of the day and was a relatively competitive game, even though it wasn't the prettiest game. And, I think Washington, with their defensive line in particular, they're an interesting team to watch. Terry McLaurin on the offensive side, and obviously their young running back was huge in that game. Seems like they made a pretty good draft pick with him and the future of that position, where they've kind of been, riding a string of bad luck really with the running back spot, just lots of injuries and things like that. But it appears that they found their playmaker there. Like I said, the D-line's, interesting to watch. And then, the Cowboys are the Cowboys. They're always going to have a major audience, even when they're struggling like they are right now. And I think playing an arch rival, even though that rivalry's not what it used to be, and the timing of that game, it just, it made for some interest. And that's good to hear. It's nice to have Cowboys-Washington as a game that obviously a lot of people were tuned into.
30.3 million viewers. We have calls lit up. We'll get to your call. What?
We just have one. Somebody keeps calling and hanging up.
Okay, well, if you're going to call, stay on with us. There's kind of an automated thing that will grab your call. Let us know you're there. 254-339-1122. Baylor and Illinois. Would you be satisfied Would you be satisfied with a 1-1 week this week if you're Baylor men's basketball?
I think you should be. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I'm just saying. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to bite off more sometimes.
Yeah, you should be. If you're not
but if you're the number one team in the country, and I know that Gonzaga on one of the polls is number one, I would take 1-1.
It's 1-1 in the 4th game of the season. Like, if you're not satisfied with this, you're one of the people who will never be satisfied with anything. I can walk in and hand you the winning lottery ticket every week for the rest of the year, and you wouldn't be satisfied with 1-1.
Well, they're a national championship
it's the
caliber
4th game of the season.
It's the 3rd and 4th game of the season. Why are you jumping ahead of Illinois?
No, but I'm just saying, through the 4th game of the season, if they're
so your answer is yes.
Yeah, they should be, absolutely.
So you're saying if someone says no, they're wrong?
Yes, they're totally wrong.
Craig, what do you think?
I mean, you're playing 2 top 5 teams, so if you lose one of those, I don't see what the big deal is. But you lose both of them, that's kind of a big deal, obviously, because you're going to plummet. Maybe not plummet, but you're going to fall a few spots if you lose both of those games. So just to maintain where you sort of are right now in that top 5 area, I think you've got to win at least one of those games. But if you lose one of those games, especially if it's to Gonzaga, I don't think that that's really any reason for alarm at all, and it depends on really the style in which you lose. If you beat Illinois and lose to Gonzaga, you might stay number 2 in the country. That's kind of the point you're trying to make. But I think that there would be some that would say, wait a minute, we're supposed to be at a different level if you're a Baylor basketball fan. 254-339-1122. Here's Scott Drew, today available as they play Illinois. He flew up and met with the team in Indianapolis. Jerome Tang mentioned that after the win against Washington on Sunday. And just Scott Drew about being back with his guys.
Man, I'm excited after 10 days of refereeing fights at home. I can't wait to be back here. That's for sure.
What was that like watching from quarantine? Did you get anxious, or what was it like?
Well, I got really anxious when Flow Hoops would break up or pause or whatever. So, but definitely big leads made it easier to withstand, and obviously very proud of how the guys played. And
that's Scott Drew on being back. Now, also, They got 2 games in. And you heard what Jerome Tang told us Friday, that Scott Drew basically didn't sleep for 2 or 3 days. We'll have Mack Rhoades today at 4:20 to kind of go through that with us on how they found Vegas and how they found UL Lafayette or Louisiana, and then also Washington, and Scott Drew on the importance of playing games before this back-to-back against 5 and number 1 in Indianapolis.
Well, definitely those games were really important, especially without scrimmages this year. First and foremost, if our guys had to practice another week against each other, they might have killed each other. So they were ready to face somebody different. And then after that, it's important to start your rotations and your team bonding and your roles. And that hopefully gets a little more shored up after this week. And again, we can continue to work on things that we're going to have to do to beat teams like this. Because in the Big 12, you're playing top teams night in and night out. And obviously, we have big goals for conference and hopefully postseason. So these 2 games will really help us with all of that moving forward. And at the same time, I know when you play games like this, there's really no loser, because if you win, it's a great win. And if you lose, it doesn't hurt you as far as your tournament resume goes. All
right, that's Scott Drew. Illinois tomorrow. Lady Bears tonight against the University of South Florida. 254-339-1122. Your text and also your phone call. We'd love to hear you here on Sic'Em365 Radio.
T-Rex, you're on Sic'Em365 Radio on the Impact Health Labs caller line.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. I kind of get the days mixed up by this point in 2020. We don't know what day we're at. But anyways, Coop's up time. So hope you're having a good day. Hope the weather's nice. Hope you're staying warm. Everyone else out there listening, hope you're having had a good Thanksgiving. And so just having a beautiful end of your year. A couple things real quick. First one, I want to give a big shout out to all the fans who left the game early on Saturday. Hope you enjoyed that. Because I enjoyed staying there and watching us win. So just another reason not to leave a game early, chalk that up. It obviously wasn't the 61-58 we all talk about, but just another example of why you don't leave games early, especially if you show up in the bad storm. It didn't get any worse, so I don't know why you left. You can't blame the rain because it was the same as when you got there. So watch the whole game or just stay home. Second thing, would I be disappointed if we lost 1 of 2 games this week in basketball? I understand your points, gentlemen, about, win 1 or 2. If I had to choose one, I would say Gonzaga. That'd be awesome to beat them. But being myself, I'm going to say win on both and don't even worry about it, because hell no, I'm not going to be satisfied if we lose a game ever. It doesn't matter what sport it is. I don't care if it's the badminton team. You got to win everything, and that's the mindset you got to have. And I know this team has that mindset, but obviously you got to get realistic. So good question. But I guess the true answer is no, I won't be happy if we lose one of them. I won't be happy if we lose any game. We ought to be undefeated national champions at the end of the year in men's and women's basketball. So there's my answer to that question. Exciting news, got a new commitment. So that's great to hear, especially over the last couple of weeks. We lost a few big-name recruits. So good thing we got some momentum back. And last thing, hearing a lot of rumblings, and I don't know if y'all are going to talk about this during the call or during the show today, about, OU maybe not being able to play the game. Who knows? All I know is I would be happy with us chalking up our LA Tech/Houston game as a forfeit on our record versus just a cancellation, as long as we can indicate that Oklahoma forfeited against us and we get the victory over Oklahoma. But I'd be more happy if we play the game, because I got seats on row 5 in Norman. And I'd be happy as can be to watch the Baylor Bears take advantage of a depleted Oklahoma team and get that victory, even if it has an asterisk at the end of the year. Because I'll be screaming from Norman and calling it the post game and letting Oklahoma answer the question of where is their God now. So Sic'Em Bears, hopefully I see you in Norman on Saturday, Baylor Nation. If not, maybe we got something in Waco. Who knows? But have a good day. I'll shut up and listen.
All right. Thank you, T-Rex. We appreciate your your passion. It's thanks for your time. Oklahoma, by the way, and I did get this from a few of you that mentioned that Bob Stoops is actually helping Oklahoma football this week, on staff with Lincoln Riley this week, because they have had coaches affected by COVID. If he's available and he says yes, why not, right?
That's one heck of a contingency plan.
How about that? There. If there are probably some programs that wish they could bring back a former coach and help them at times throughout the year. There's probably a bunch of them, but in this case, it's unique. Stoops has been coaching a little bit up with that league, whatever it was, that got shut down so quickly. And he's still young. It's not like it's bringing back Tom Osborne or Bobby Bowden in their 80s or 90s to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a great relationship. It's clearly within the rules, so it's not that big of a deal to me, but I guess it's kind of cool that Stoops is helping out. Outside of that, it's not really anything, and I don't think it'll have too much of an effect on Baylor this weekend because I don't think he's in there, like, actually game planning and helping things. He's just, doing some of whatever needs help with guys missing action. But, Oklahoma, that game is sort of up in the air to an extent because, we know there's an issue in Norman. We just don't know to the extent of which there's an issue in Norman. And we're probably a couple of days from even finding that out. But it did not sound good yesterday, the way Lincoln Riley was talking about it. I know Chris Kleiman in the post game after Saturday, he gave Baylor a lot of credit, but at the same time, he kind of took away some of the credit by talking about how beat up they were and how many guys were missing and things like that. So if Oklahoma does suit up, it does appear as though, they will be making some similar comments just about, the number of guys missing. But that's part of the deal. Baylor's played plenty of games now with a ton of their players missing and impact guys missing, and like 5 of them showed up last Saturday that have all missed like the last 3 games. So that's just part of the deal in 2020. And, we'll see how it affects him if it does.
Well, yeah, we'll see what he's helping. There's nothing wrong with that. I agree. If you have somebody around and they've been hit with it. Mack Rhoades will join us at 4:20, and I have had a lot of you, and I appreciate it. Send me text or email or messages. Hey, what happens if that game can't be played? And we will ask him about that. We'll ask him what he knows at this particular point, and if, in fact, the game gets shut down, can Baylor slide a non-conference game in there? Or possibly, what about December the 19th? So some of you have asked that question to me, and I will pass it on to Mack Rhoades.
Yeah, I will ask him. I kind of got the vibe last time when that conferences are not too keen on teams playing non-conference games at this point. Like, that was kind of a September thing. And then, I know there's going to be some one-offs, but, for the most part, it's going to be hard because your conferences, if you lose one, they want to match you up with somebody who also lost one in the league.
Well, and the whole playing out of conference has been the biggest part of the problem in this entire thing, and that's where Baylor had their biggest struggles trying to field a game with La Tech and Ole Miss and, everybody else that was involved. Houston there. At one point, like that, the non-conference was the hardest thing to do because, especially early on, nobody was really on the same page in any way. Maybe it would be a bit easier now, but yeah, I'm curious to hear his answer on that. And obviously, T-Rex not satisfied with just one victory this week.
And by the way, Jonathan sent me a note and to us on the text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. I would take 1-1, but I expect 2-0. That's a good way to put it. Also, Gunny, can Bob trade? Can they trade Bob Stoops for Mike Stoops' defense against Baylor on Saturday?
Hey, man, that Alex Grinch, you'd love to see it if you could, because that Alex Grinch defense appears to be pretty for real. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell in this lackluster Big 12 offensive conference that this has become. Normally, if you got a really good defense in the Big 12, you got a really good defense. This year, it's a little bit of that, but it's also a little bit of the offenses are really bad pretty much across the board. But Oklahoma does look markedly improved on defense. They have a confidence about them that's not just like 1 week and then it disappears. It's actually kind of been building all year. So I think, that Iowa State rematch potentially that they could have will be a really, really fun game, but that's still a ways away.
They still have to win.
Yeah.
They have not wrapped up anything themselves. They still have to take care of their own business.
Well, my curiosity about Oklahoma is I'm assuming the game's going to get played because they're back at practice this week. Is how do they look? Because 2 weeks ago they went to Bedlam concerned about not having enough players and beat the ever-loving what out of Oklahoma State. So, but they had practice all week. I mean, so they had that. Now that they've been off, that stopping and starting has been the real curiosity for me in all this.
So that's going on with Oklahoma. And again, Mack Rhoades at 4:20. Also, Josh McQuistion. He's with Soonerscoop.com. He'll join us today at 4:45 on his thoughts about Oklahoma and where they are. A couple of other notes just for your information. On Thursday, Tim Brando will join us. He's doing the play-by-play for the television broadcast on Fox. And then Spencer Tillman and Gabe Eichert. He's a former player at Oklahoma and does talk radio out, I think.
Both are.
Huh?
Both are.
Well, yeah, it's true. I was Spencer Tillman back in the day, but Gabe Eichert is also going to be a part of the broadcast with us on Friday. Those two. Barry Switzer on Thursday at 5 and maybe 5 o'clock with the Barry Switzer. That's always entertaining to hear from him as well.
I propose that we do not do the Barry Switzer interview, and instead Phil Bennett calls Barry Switzer, and we just record the audio of those two talking about the game coming up this weekend.
Because Barry did, when I sent him a text, hey, we have Phil Bennett tomorrow, Monday at 5. You want to follow him? Want to jump in with him? He goes, I can't do Monday. I can do Thursday. And tell Phil I said hi. He's a good one. Now, sad note today is Jeff Walker, the former head coach at Rogers High School. He was a longtime assistant coach at Liberty Hill when they won back-to-back state championships in 6 and 7. He then became the head coach at Rogers. He's been the head coach back at Liberty Hill. He had battled cancer for like 8 years. He passed away today at a very tender age. He was 59 and 13 at Rogers and averaged 50 points a game. Then went to Liberty Hill and became the head coach in 2017. They were 8-0 this year as they entered the playoffs, and he passed away at a very tender age. So our thoughts to the Rogers community, Liberty Hill, to the Walker family as well. I had a chance to visit with him on a couple of the different occasions. One heck of a football coach, no question about it. All right, Joey McGuire. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. The UIL, and I'm fortunate to be on this committee, ballot, voter, whatever you want to say, of the top 100 teams, rivalries, and players. No really particular order, because then you could argue about number 1 and number 30 forever. But there's also the top 100 coaches list that's being released, and Joey McGuire, with his run at Cedar Hill, is on that list. That was announced today. Baylor put something up about it today. That's not a surprise. He was phenomenal with what he did at Cedar Hill.
Yeah, that's not a surprise in any way. I mean, if you know anything about Texas high school football, you know what Joey McGuire did at Cedar Hill, and that was a big part of, what landed him at Baylor and what has had other schools coming at him as well. I think he's a very valuable member of the program and has been now going on into his 4th year, and obviously did a lot of good before that, enough to get that type of consideration. So, Joey McGuire's a great dude, great coach, and good for him. It was well-deserved, well-earned.
Charlie Brewer yesterday was named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week, and as John Mayers was named the Special Teams Player of the Week. Craig, you know a lot about this. Cindy, who runs the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, National Player of the Week. Charlie Brewer, quarterback at Baylor, and there were again, Sincere McCormick at UT San Antonio, among others. Charlie Brewer named the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner this week for his performance against Kansas State.
Yeah, he's the first Baylor player, I believe, to win it this year. I mean, think about it. There's not really many interesting offensive performances that we've seen this season from anybody, but Charlie on Saturday night, quite frankly. I mean, that's been – I don't even know what number 2 would be. Like, what would be the number 2 offensive performance? And throw out Ebner from Kansas, because that was mostly special teams.
Yeah, 2 special teams. So, Squirrel?
Probably Squirrel before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even a 100-yard game.
Yeah.
Like, that's how pedestrian it's been. But, I mean, I think even if it had been pretty regular with, bright spots and things like that, what Charlie did on Saturday was just another kind of level and something we haven't seen from him in a really long time, like going deep into last year, going into their stretch run towards the Big 12 championship last year, because they lost their last couple of games. So, yeah, I mean, it was a great performance, and he's getting honored for it, so good for him.
We'll have Monterey Baldwin in the next segment. Also today, Brian Bell, China Spring. They've got the 800-pound gorilla, as I've labeled Carthage as, well, it could be a 1,500-pound gorilla. But you know what? They found a way the first 3 weeks. They play Carthage up in Midlothian on Friday. He'll join us at 3:45. And then today at 4:20, Mack Rhoades. Also, Josh McCuistion, Oklahoma's website, one of the ones they have, Soonerscoop.com. Also today, we'll have David Hellman on the Cowboys. They may play again one of these days. And also John McClain at 5:30. This is from Bear Love 89 on Sic'Em365 in the premium section. So the guys on Monday were discussing Joe Wickline and how he fought through that injury on the sideline, required stitches, set an example of fighting through adversity. And Craig responded, I mean, I would have thought if you saw Joe Wickline covered in blood that he had committed a murder after watching the O-line in the first half. And I saw more than one person say that, and that was great from yesterday. And I still thought the funniest part about yesterday with Aranda was when he said, yeah, he's kind of embarrassed about it, so I'm glad you're asking.
It was in the open today.
Yeah.
I put it in the open.
Yeah, so that's some of Miranda's personality that we get glimpses of, and I think as he's around longer, we'll see more and more of that, and that'll just become kind of normal to hear that side of him. But it's good to hear him happy on a Monday for once.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only been one other time as a head coach now over these first 3 months or so that he's actually been able to go in on a Monday after a win. So that obviously, makes a large difference in anybody's personality. But yeah, he sounded loose and having fun. And had that been a loss, which it very well looked like it was going to be, that's not as funny of a story. But given the fact that, Joe Wickline's, they're bleeding all over the sideline or all over himself on the sideline, it's just kind of a cute anecdote to what was a great win.
All right, coming up next, he's the latest commit for Baylor's class of 2021. I had a chance to visit with his mother a little bit as well. And Monterey Baldwin, the speedy wide receiver kick returner from Shoemaker, and the backstory of how Baylor got involved and how and why. That's next on Sic'Em365 Radio. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans has been in business now in Central Texas since the late 1960s. They initially started as the Humidor. And then they grew, and they went to the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills, and they've been there now for over 30 years. The new site that expanded just down a couple of doors down from where they were in 2014, and they went in and built a brand new 48-foot-long walk-in humidor. Obviously, it's a sight to behold if you're a cigar aficionado because it is loaded with all the great brands of cigars. And some of them, I have a list in front of me, but Padron, Arturo Fuente, Cohiba, Macanudo, Ashton, Rocky Patel, My Father, Romeo and Julieta. These are some of the great names of cigars, brand names of cigars. And if you like any of those plus any, La Fontana is a very underrated name that has great cigars as well. Whether you want a Churchill length or something shorter, they have that. Something that's a little bit harsh, a little bit more of a full flavor, or something that's light, they have that as well. And a full array of coffee beans, fresh coffee beans, whatever aroma you want or taste you're looking for as well. CBD products, including VitaDreams. If you struggle going to bed, toss and turn, you can do CBD with VitaDreams. It'll help you fall asleep much faster than you could ever imagine. It's Don Humidor. Tell Carol and Ashley that Smokey sent you, and a great place to get your Christmas shopping done as well in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
When it comes to value and great customer service, you can count on us. Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. As a Customer First Award of Excellence winner, our customers always receive exceptional service, and during the Big Finish event, you save thousands on every car, truck, and SUV. Plus, most vehicles feature 0% financing. The Big Finish event. Now at your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. Are you a Sic'Em365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sic'Em365.com.
He is explosive. He can flat out run. He's a heck of a wide receiver for Shoemaker. And he's also very, very explosive in the kick return game. Monterey Baldwin, a player we saw when we were doing midway football the last couple of years, not this season, but a young man that Toby Foreman, the head coach at Shoemaker, kept saying, would somebody come look at this young kid? He's good. He can play at Baylor or Tech or somewhere. And all of a sudden, he's now committed to Baylor University, and Monterey Baldwin joins us on Sic'Em365 Radio. So tell us how all this came about, Monterey. How did Baylor get involved? When did they start to contact you? And then kind of the story of the commitment or the offer.
Baylor started to talk to me about a week ago, and then they called me yesterday, and then they offered me. And then right then and there, I just knew that was the right place for me, because growing up, Baylor was always one of the favorites for me. And then I just feel like I fit the offense really well. And then it's right down the street, and it can't get much better than that. So.
Can you tell us the story? Can you tell us the story on Sunday evening? I believe the family was having like a Zoom prayer meeting or something like that. And your mother, you had the call from Coach Foreman, and you walked in and talked to her about it. Can you kind of take us through what that emotion was like, that moment?
It was a good moment, because we do that prayer every week, and we pray about different things. So for that to happen on that day, it was a very good moment.
Was it difficult early on knowing that you having the faith in your talent that you do, but you hadn't gotten those big offers yet? Was it difficult to deal with that, or did you just kind of roll with it?
It wasn't difficult. I was just staying patient, because I knew that I was good enough to go to places like Baylor, and I was just staying patient. And when the time came, it came, and it feels good now.
So what was the reaction like when you got off the phone and Baylor had offered you? You said you committed immediately, like on that same phone call, right?
No, I actually committed the next morning.
Okay. So they called you, but when you got that phone call and you get off the phone and now you're holding a Baylor offer, like how special was that to be able to tell your coaches? How special was that just when you heard those words like, hey, we're offering you a scholarship? And what was it like to tell your family and the response that they gave you back?
It feels really good, because I know how hard I worked and how long we waited for this moment So for me to come home and tell my parents that I got an offer from Baylor, it felt really good, because just a lot of time and effort has gone into this.
Was there a lot of screaming and yelling of joy and happiness, I would imagine?
Yeah, my mom was bouncing off the walls.
She told me that. She said she was screaming for everyone to probably even hear in Waco, Texas, because of how all of this went down. What is your mom, and mothers mean something to everybody, but your father, military, obviously he's been deployed many times. You and your two your siblings, two brothers and sisters, and he's been gone a lot. So how important has been her role with your father out of the picture for so long?
Her role is very important because she's like my backbone. She's always been there for me, and whenever I need something, I can always go to her no matter what it is, and she's always been supportive.
Baylor's had some wide receivers that were committed to them, and some of them decided they wanted to look elsewhere. Sometimes an opening allows something else to happen for somebody else. How important has the timing been for you, in your opinion?
I feel it's good. I feel everything happens for a reason. So for them to think that they want to go somewhere else and then Baylor come get me, I just feel like that's all God. And then it just feels great for that to happen because we pray about it a lot. And then for that to happen like that, it just feels really good.
Monterey, is George Munoz the one that you probably talk to the most often, or who's the coach that you've been talking to and getting to know the most here, especially here recently?
Yes, I talked to Munoz.
Okay. What have been kind of your impressions of him, and what are some of the things that he's told you about, what they see in you and what they're expecting once you, arrive on campus?
I like Coach Munoz. He seems like a good guy, and they told me that they're just going to play me in the slot and try to get me matched up on linebackers and safeties because it's a mismatch, and they're just going to give me the ball in creative ways.
One of the great things about being a military family, the tough thing is, as I mentioned, sometimes your father or mother or both can go off and be deployed, but you have great medical benefits. You fractured a leg. You had hand surgery. You had an ear basically almost torn off. This is when you were younger. How often did you get yourself injured throughout growing up, and are you just reckless as crazy and fearless? What happened with some of those events, Monterey?
When I was younger, I was very clumsy, and I was always running around, so I calmed down, though, so I don't really get injured like that.
So those were just injuries of clumsiness? You're not like wrestling bobcats? I don't know. Say, I kind of
wrestling bobcats.
I don't know. Like, what are you doing?
So how did you fracture your leg?
I did that on a trampoline.
Okay.
All right. How did you have when you walked into your mom one day at the house and said, "Mom, I kind of think I may have injured my hand." What happened at that moment?
I was playing with my friends, and we were flipping, and then I fell on it wrong, and I had to walk home with a dislocated finger, and then they took me to the ER.
Man, those are the worst, too. I jammed a finger. I can't imagine dislocating it. That hurts.
Me too.
All right, this is the best one, though. How did your ear almost get torn off?
We were playing in the dark, and then I happened to fall, and I hit my head on the bed frame, and my ear got ripped in half.
Oof.
Was that the worst one of the ones we'd mentioned?
I think so, and there was a lot of blood involved, so I think that was the most painful.
Yeah.
Man, but you're tough. There's nothing that can face you now. You're fine, and obviously you've gotten through every one of those. That's awesome news. 3.6 grade point average as a student. Your mother told me that she never, ever even has to ask you about whether you've gotten your homework done. Where does that come from in your family and your importance of academics?
It just means a lot because, just for me to have bad grades, it just doesn't even feel right. And I just know that it would make my parents proud if I had good grades. So I just try to stay on top of those.
I like how you said it doesn't feel right. So if you don't do well in something that you expected to, do you have is it kind of like an itch or something? You're just I got to fix that.
Yeah, if I fail a test or something, I'm probably going to retake because it just doesn't sit right with me.
You're good. That's good.
So, Monterey, we've gotten to see Shoemaker play, a ton of times here over the last few years. And, that's a program that's had some successes, had some lows. I mean, this year's obviously was filled with a lot of big wins. What do you think it means? Like, what's sort of been the reaction? And I know school's kind of different right now, but what's sort of been the reaction around Shoemaker to your commitment? I would think it's really big for the school. You guys have had D1 players before, but it's not, necessarily an every year thing. So, what's kind of been the response from your classmates and your peers?
We've had a lot of support lately because now that we're winning, but like when I first got here, it wasn't a lot of support and people were talking down on us. And just to see that flip around from the time I've been here, it just feels good because now we have a lot of support.
You're also very good, not only at catching the football with your speed, your hands, and making plays after the catch, but also very much in the return game. That's also kind of a fearless thing, isn't it, to catch a kick and know that there's 11 guys, or the kicker might be a little bit further behind, but 11 people coming down to try to hurt you when you get it?
I mean, I have blockers, and I always feel like I can make someone miss, so it's just like a free opportunity because they're kicking it right to me, so it's just like bound to happen.
The nickname. Now, to me, guys, don't you think Monterey by itself is a great name?
It's a great name.
It's a great name. So Monterey's a great name. So you don't even need a nickname. How did you get the nickname Boomby?
I couldn't tell you. My mom. I couldn't tell you.
You don't sound real thrilled with that.
No. I don't know if he says I couldn't or that means I don't want to get in.
Yeah, tell you that one.
So have you ever asked your mother about the name? How you got the nickname?
I have once, but I don't remember. And somehow the nickname got around, so now everybody tries to call me that.
You don't seem to like it much, do you?
I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I'd rather not be called that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll stop talking about
it.
Look,
look, Monterey's a cool enough name.
Now,
so.
But what name does your mom go to when you get? It doesn't sound like you're in trouble. You don't get in trouble much, but you're a kid. I mean, young man, excuse me. So sometimes you may not do something right. What name does she go to when you know you're in trouble?
She goes to my first name.
Does she use the first, second, like your middle name? Because when our parents have gotten mad, it's like the whole name, right, Paul? That the full name gets thrown out there. Does that ever happen with you?
I mean, I can't really recall me because I never really got in trouble, though.
That's
I can't really recall that. But she usually calls me by my first name.
What did she say when you came in with your ear bleeding like crazy? I was
Monterey.
Yeah. Was that a whole name or it was more like, oh dear?
I don't even remember. I just know that she couldn't look at it.
Oh, my.
Well, hey, Monterey, I saw where some of the current Baylor commits, the guys who are going to be a part of your class, who are going to be signing here pretty soon, reached out, and we're congratulating you, I should say, on Twitter. Do you have much of a knowledge of your fellow recruits? Do you know any of those guys, or do you know anybody on the Baylor football team right now, or is this going to kind of be getting to know everybody sort of all at once for you?
I don't know anybody personally, but some of the people reached out, so I'm going to have to make some new friends.
Did you hear from Kyron Drones, the quarterback at Shadow Creek? Because he's one of the guys that's a part of that class and a quarterback as well, so you'll get to know him along with whoever's on the roster now.
Yes, he did text me, actually.
Good deal. That's what you want your quarterback to be doing, is starting to get in contact with his future teammates like that.
Monterey, why do you think it took so long for a Division I school to contact you?
I really think COVID messed everything up because with us not having a spring, people couldn't come down here and see us, and then people were second guessing because of my size, and they just never see me in person. But I guess my film speaks for itself. So,
no question about it. It's been a great day. Thank you so much. Baylor Nation's excited. They have, there's a lot of. We had Coach Foreman on yesterday to discuss your talent and all the things you can do. We've seen you. We know you're explosive. Finish strong. I know you have an off week, and then you start the playoffs against a very difficult district that's next. So good luck the rest of the way, and thank you for your time today. And tell Coach Foreman we appreciate him as well.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, you too. And his mother, Amanda, she gave me all. Can you imagine? Some kids don't have any of that happen. Mm-hmm. Fractured leg.
My sister busted her head open on a ceiling fan, so weird things happen sometimes.
And then set herself on fire.
Also set herself on fire.
Did you ever hear about that one, Paul?
No.
Yeah.
Craig?
Those are just a couple of stories.
So she was in the bathroom.
My mom there's like a separated bathroom. There's like the toilet area and then like the sink area.
Yeah.
And my sister, I guess my mom was using the restroom. We were this years and years and years ago. So my little sister's sitting on the sink waiting for her, I guess, talking or something through the door. And next thing you know, you just hear, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And she was like 7 years old or something. She had like a big extra large t-shirt as like her nightgown, I guess. And so it was obviously loose. And there was a lit candle on the sink where she was sitting. And that loose t-shirt just came in contact with that candle. And next thing you know, she was in flames. Thankfully not all the way, but there was a pretty big fireball surrounding that shirt. There was also the time she stood up to do something on her bed. She stood up on her little rocker, not realizing a ceiling fan was spinning above her, and clocked herself and had a nice little gash that had to get sewn up. And there's probably others that I'm forgetting, but those were two of her classics.
Yeah, no, my sister was pretty. I mean, my sister was ADHD to every level of the word, like hyperactive, and like you could just like, it was like you pulled a string, like, you know, the dolls used to pull the string and they would talk or go, but like her string just never went back in. Like you pulled it, it would just, like when she was a little kid, so she would come in with all kind of stuff. And then she found out, like, sometimes she'd get me in trouble. She'd go, well, I did this because of him.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thanks.
Paul asked me to, made me, and said I had to, or he was gonna get me in more trouble than you guys are gonna spank me.
She fell off the back of the couch one time and hit the back of her head, and it was bleeding a little bit, but she knew how to take it from a 1 to a 9.
A trickle to
oh my God.
Yeah. To Joe, from a trickle to Joe Wickline on the sideline, the tourniquet around his leg with a towel.
I got through the high school years without ever breaking a single bone or having a single stitch. Now, post-high school, I can't say that, but she didn't even get to high school before she'd already had broken bone stitches.
I broke one bone in my life. I was 33 years old, and I broke my toe.
Yeah, there you go.
So
I was going to mention on Shoemaker, so Johnny Jefferson, the last Shoemaker, Gray Wolf to go to Baylor. I'm not sure on that. Like, there might be a guy who's maybe not as well known, that was on the team. I can't think of anybody, but Catalina ISD in general, I mean, Baylor's had some guys, Dominic Ziegler, Johnny Jefferson, and a few others. And I know that Dave Aranda, there's a Colleen connection there because Rayson Thornton from I think his Shoemaker was on that LSU National Championship team last year playing linebacker. Rayson Thornton was. He was a part of that class with the big D tackle that we never heard about again.
James? No, that was hard.
No, remember the big monster defensive lineman that got everybody offering, and I can't even remember what happened to him at this point. I can't even remember his name, but I do remember Rayson Thornton, and he played under Dave Aranda. He played on Dave Aranda's defense. So, just another little Colleen connection there.
How about this? We were talking about what Baylor might do if they don't play Oklahoma. And again, that is just people asking the question because Oklahoma last week had their struggles. TCU is going to play Louisiana Tech on December 12th.
So 2 Saturdays.
Replacing the lost game earlier this year with SMU. And at this time, SMU is required to play December the 12th because their conference, the American Athletic Conference, is saying you have to leave that date open.
Yeah, because they could win it.
Yes. And so, but here's an example of a game. That was a team that Baylor was supposed to play with against, right? Louisiana Tech, that's the one that got shut down about midweek, a Tuesday or Wednesday. So some of you were asking that question. So if, in fact, you have one of the games shut down, whether it's Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, if TCU can make up a non-conference game with somebody else, then...
Yeah, but they have the open date to do it. Where's Baylor's open date?
No, they don't have one unless... And that's why... And even some have asked about, what about December 19th? I think the Big 12 wants that to be the championship game and only the championship game with not some games against random teams that you're playing, unless you have to push it back.
Other conferences are going to do that, but other conferences like the Big Ten may only get in 5 total games per team, so they're doing it to make up some revenue. If you've played 9 games and lost just one, I mean, because if you think about Baylor, all that time they didn't play, they're still looking at getting 9 games of the 10 they had scheduled in. So I think that's that's darn near 90% there, guys. I don't know about you, but
who would you rather play, Louisiana Tech or SMU?
SMU.
So that game, that TCU-SMU game, which was blown up because of COVID early on, TCU will get that game with La Tech instead on December the 12th And again, SMU has to wait a minute, we still have a chance to be a part of the championship game in the American Athletic Conference.
Yeah, but I mean, not losing to ECU like they did this past weekend. I mean, that's
they've
two
lost
losses
back-to-back. Yeah,
that's 2 losses in a row for them, and they had a loss, to Cincinnati earlier, I guess about 6 weeks ago or so. Yeah, I mean, that's 3 in their last 5, I think, that they've lost there at SMU. So. Still, would have been a great little game, I think, between SMU and TCU, but I guess good on the Frogs for getting a makeup game in there. I'd care a lot more if it was Baylor making a makeup game, but like I said, I don't really know how they could swing that at this point.
All right, coming up next, they're playing 8-time, 7-time state champion China Spring, which has had this remarkable run since they lost to Connolly. We were there for that game. Then they had a bye week, an off week. And then since that time, they've beaten Jasper badly. They handled Westover and Stark pretty easily, and they beat Sealy 31-13. They've started well. They've finished well. They are in the quarterfinals against Carthage. Yep, them. China Springs, Brian Bell, next on Sic'Em365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got the holiday savings event going on right now. And that means that it's not only the most wonderful time of the year, but it means that you can save thousands and thousands of dollars on a new vehicle this Christmas. How about the GMC Sierra, a truck with it all? It's got first-class seating. It's got unbeatable technology. And as somebody who up until earlier this year was driving a car from the early 2000s that had, pretty much little to no technology to now driving one that has a whole lot of it, I can only imagine what the 2021 models have in store, and unbeatable is probably a good adjective to use, but it's also got a lot of power with it. It is the best truck on the road, the GMC Sierra, and during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. If you're looking for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV, you can save $7,000 off of GMC Terrains. You can save $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. Test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. We've also got a compact SUV with loads of space and style with the 2020 Buick Encores for only $18,950, over $5,000 in savings on the top-selling Buick Encore. And at Richard Carr, not only do they have great deals, but they got a lot of love for healthcare workers, military, and first responders right now. All these valuable community heroes get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal, and you can give a kid a bike this Christmas. See the dealer for details. The holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you. Save big. The holiday sales event at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Hi, this is China Spring football coach Brian Bell. You're listening to Sic'Em365 Radio, your home for the best high school football coverage in the state of Texas.
This segment with China Spring Cougars football coach Brian Bell is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, First National Bank of Central Texas, Lance Donaldson eXp Realty, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
My goodness, here you are in the quarterfinals, and now you play the 800-pound gorilla in Carthage, but you have the opportunity to play them. And there were people who wondered if you'd even be past the first round. How much fun and what is the energy right now around the town and also around the campus?
Yeah, and I think I said this last week. You know, our guys have played good football this entire football season. You know, we had a couple moments of weakness during the Conley game and the Salado game where we lost our identity for a minute. But our kids have been playing hard, and for them to be rewarded like this, and for them to continue their confidence and keep the faith and keep believing, and to play good football in the playoffs is really promising. And it's cool to see as coaches to see them thrive. So they've got a lot of confidence right now, and they're going to need it because Carthage is a good football team, and 800-pound gorilla, whatever you want to call them. You know, they're tough to stop, tough to move the ball on, and so we're going to have our hands full.
You have now beaten Jasper. Then you took out West Orange Stark and then Sealy, and all of them have traditional names. And China Spring football does as well, but those have had some deep runs as well. We know about West Orange Stark and Sealy's history. And then not only that, Brian, you're winning convincingly. You're starting well, and you're winning convincingly. Is right now almost to the point where your team thinks they can play anybody?
I just know that they have a lot of confidence. I don't know if you can say we can play anybody, but we really like where we're at right now. Our kids are making plays, and they're playing really hard. And really, honestly, if you just take care of business, I mean, any game is winnable on any day. So you just got to go out there and put our best foot forward and give them our best shot. So we'll see what happens.
How important is it to make sure you continue to do what you've done? I know last week was a little bit condensed because of Thanksgiving, the holidays, but you continue to practice throughout. How important is it not to change what anything's going on and just stay in the routine you've had throughout the year?
I try to keep it simple for the kids and just go 1-0 every single week, and not let them think it's the biggest game of the year and stuff like that. Just try not to blow it up too much, but it is a big moment. It is something for them to get excited to be or to play in, and we're excited about it. So it's a great opportunity. And like I said, we're just as coaches, we're just so proud of these kids, and for the ride that they're taking us on right now, it's pretty special.
And when I heard and knew that there was a possibility once you took care of business, and they did as well, I flashed back to 2016 in that semifinal game up in Frisco that was such a dramatic, 4 overtimes or whatever it was. Do you remember much about that? What do you? I know that you guys had a chance to win it with a field goal, didn't happen, then they win the game. Do you flash back to that much at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember it being a defensive battle. Both defenses playing really good. Their running back Keontae Ingram was real dominant, and our guys went out there and they just played hard, and we hung in there as long as we could, and we made it a ball game. And I think that's what you got to do at Carthage. You just kind of got to weather the storm. You know, they're going to come out fast, and they're going to come out guns blazing, and they can put up a lot of points. You know, there's so many playmakers around their quarterback, and their quarterback's one of the best in Texas, and so they're tough to stop offensively, but we just got to hang around and just hope we're in it at the end of the game.
They're usually known for what they do, almost even though they're in the gun with their offense. It almost at times can be pro style. I'm not saying that's what they do a lot, but they have that ability. But this team here that they have this year seems to be thriving because the difference might be that they're also really good on defense. Is that the case?
Absolutely. You know, they can control the ball if they need to and run it down your throat. They can play action, hit you over the top. They can get an empty and spread it around and throw a quick game and press the ball down the field. You know, they've got a lot of different ways they can attack you, and that makes them very, very dangerous. So, yeah, it's going to be tough, absolutely.
What are you feeling right now, man, as far as what you've been able to do? You haven't been doing this head coaching thing very long, and here you are. You have a team in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, no, I think this is really exciting for me, just being a head coach in my third year and having this opportunity is something special. But, you know, very naive to think that I'm doing this by myself. You know, our coaching staff is doing a phenomenal job right now, putting game plans together and working hard and putting kids in a position to be successful. My dad, leaning heavily on my dad right now just for advice and what to do in playoff situations and in this situation and that situation. And so there's so many people that have a hand in what's going on right now. It's very naive to think it's a one-man show, but it's really, really neat to see our entire football program come together and pull in the same direction because the kids are playing really well right now.
What is it about your team that has been able to, you mentioned trying to weather the storm perhaps on Friday, but you have yourself, whether it was Dawson X-Line and the block punt that kind of kick-started West Orange Stark, and then last week you score quickly with Bowden. And what is it right now that you guys are able to jump on people pretty quickly and then they're holding on?
Absolutely. Kids are coming out ready to play early, and that's important. But understand, too, the things that we've exploited in other teams, we're not going to be able to do that against Carthage. You know, they're very well coached, very disciplined, and special teams are a good part of the game to try to catch the momentum. But that's where Carthage catches all their momentum, you know. So we're going to have to be disciplined and sound and simple because they do so many things all over the place. We're just going to have to simplify it as much as we can and just try to survive. And like I said earlier, you know, stay in the hunt as long as we can and hope by the end of the game we got a chance to go score or something to put us ahead. But Coach Surratt, you know, what a special coach he is in East Texas and how dominant he's been in Texas high school football, especially in the last 10, 12 years, is something incredible. And I think he's in the Hall of Fame in East Texas. I mean, what a guy and what a job him and his staff do.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. Best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeyard Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio.
Yeah, it means a lot. It's been a really rough year. Definitely lost a lot more games than, we should have and wanted to. So, getting a win tonight's huge. Just seeing those guys in the locker room, how excited and how much joy is in there. As an older guy, pretty cool to see.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, this 4 o'clock hour, Mack Rhoades will join us at 4:20. A lot of you have asked me to ask him questions. We will get to that as well. Also today at 4:45, Josh McCuistion, Soonerscoop.com will join us. 4:45 in Oklahoma. And we mentioned a little bit earlier that Bob Stoops helping out this week with Lincoln Riley. And then at 5 o'clock, David Hellman on the Cowboys. You think you'll ever play again? Is it?
Well, I mean, the Ravens and Steelers haven't had bad news for about 12 hours. So
Has the NFL ever bent over more backwards for a game in their lives?
Well, I mean, if I'm the Broncos,
I'm pissed.
Yeah, and after what happened there. And then the Ravens, the Ravens were actually, there were reports yesterday, from Mike Florio, so take them with a grain of salt, that the Ravens were considering some drastic action because they haven't been able to practice. They can't go to the facility. They're going to get on a plane today and fly to Pittsburgh and then play this game and probably lose, which will be their third loss in a row. And they don't have their starting quarterback, all these different things that are going on at the Ravens.
How about if you're Robert Griffin III and you have a chance to start a game, and he hasn't had many since that spectacular rookie year and then, the next year, but it's been a while. And he was going to start for them, what was it, Thursday night against Pittsburgh, and then he was going to start from them maybe Sunday night or Monday night, or now it's Wednesday.
He's going to start for them whenever they play again, I would think.
If they do. But what if it's another week?
What if
it's the Cowboys? What if they don't play the Pittsburgh game?
For example, the Broncos had no quarterbacks a week ago, and now every single one of them's back. So, the longer it goes on, the less likely it is that RG3 will take the starting snaps, and it will be Lamar Jackson instead, as it should be and as it normally would be. So, it's kind of strange how this has worked, and I know there's a lot of complaints from Raiders fans about the big fine they got earlier this year, and why aren't others getting fines? And then Titans fans had a big outcry there for a while, and I don't know, it seems like almost every fan base of NFL teams has had some sort of thing with COVID, just like in college football, so part of the deal, and this ever shuffling schedule has been, kind of interesting to try and keep track of. I don't even know when games are being played anymore. Like I'm just expecting to go home on random nights and turn on the TV and there's like an NFL game. Like it's hard to keep track of who's playing what day, and they're not only moving games. It's not like they're moving them a couple days. They're moving them like a week from now, and then it's on a Wednesday, and it's crazy. But yeah, like bottom line is it does hurt Robert's chances of getting that start.
It's on a Wednesday non-holiday week at 2:40 in the afternoon, because of a Christmas tree lighting.
Why don't they take the game and put it on another network? They flex games, they move games, CBS, Fox. That used to be if you had two NFC teams playing. I don't care, up until maybe the last 3 to 4 years where I wasn't paying attention. If you were two NFC teams, you never played on the other network that had the AFC unless you were playing a road game against them.
Do you know why that changed? Because
you might have the Eagles and Giants on CBS, for example.
Yeah, the networks were getting tired of doing the same games over and over again, and wanted to mix it up a little bit. So they have like crossover games and things like that. And then if the NFC team is hosting the AFC team, then CBS does it and all that. But I think
if the NFC's on the road, it's supposed to be a Fox game.
Yeah.
If it's the AFC team on the road, it should be a CBS game, which a lot of times on Thanksgiving it's been that way with the Cowboys.
Yeah, so they this next TV deal that comes out next year is going to be really different because of what they wind up doing with the Sunday ticket, and that might change because of this lawsuit that's going on.
And the fact that most people are just dropping it.
Most people. So they're going to – I think it's going to be drastically different. There's not going to be an AFC or an NFC network. It's going to be – and ESPN is going to make a big swing. So it might be – you might get to see 5 NFL games at a time on ESPN's channels because they're going to go, look, we're going to swing big for the NFL.
But it does appear, that game – set for 2:40 tomorrow Central Time,
hey,
and
Armstrong,
we'll
make sure
have
we
it
have
on.
that loaded. Yeah,
RG3, unless something changes, looks like he'll be taking those starting snaps. So you just hope that things stay as is. But obviously, we've seen where things can change in a very short amount of time.
At Baylor Nick on Twitter, man, we really cannot tell you, and I don't know how often Baylor Nick gets to listen. Nick and I have almost like an Orion Stewart, Phil Bennett relationship with Phil Bennett. Nick is not a fan. Yesterday, we had D.D. Richards, right? And then we had Phil Bennett. And we promoted the two on, I guess, the graphic for Sic'Em365 radio. And he said one is a defensive genius and the other one is Phil Bennett. He never was a big fan. But we love Nick, right?
I've got a little bit of breaking news. This won't come as a surprise, but I just saw this come down. Wide receiver Yusuf Terry has announced he's transferring from Baylor. So we knew that was on the way to happening after he decided to sit out. He said, I would like to thank Coach Aranda and the entire staff for giving me the opportunity to compete at Baylor. Appreciate everything that was done for me while I attended Baylor, from the academic unit, strength and conditioning coaches, even down to the trainers in the training room. To my brothers, continue on your journey you started so long ago. I have all the confidence you'll be successful. I love you all as my brothers for life. With that being said, I'll be entering the transfer portal. He's going to end up at probably West Virginia or Rutgers, somewhere in that area.
Closer to home.
Yeah, much closer to Philadelphia, I would think. And, just back kind of there in the Northeast. So, no surprise after his announcement, but that is now official.
Yeah, good luck to him because what was the game? Was it TCU when they were getting bludgeoned and a couple of younger guys made plays? Squirrel was one. And of course, the next week against Iowa State, he went out or whenever that was. And Yusuf Terry caught a pass. It was like a 16, 18-yard pass, maybe not that far, over the middle, made the catch, got up and showed a lot of excitement, even though they were getting drilled, which sometimes you're like, okay, you're getting just drilled. But I could understand his enthusiasm because he hasn't had many opportunities. We kept hearing about him, and he had a chance. He made the play, and now he'll end up playing most of his time somewhere else.
The game wasn't over, and they almost charged back and won that one. I just want to point out a point of etiquette here, which I get why they have to do it, and it's sad that they do. But when he put up the post, he says, "Thank you, respect my decision." The fact that we have to say "respect my decision" on Twitter when a kid decides to do something for his own life is really a sad commentary on the world.
Yeah. Well, it's also kind of like a. What do you even call it? It's also kind of theme in a way. Like, that's just what all recruits say is respect my decision. And I don't know who started that. I don't know who the first recruit was to say respect my decision. But, you know, at the same time, like, there's a lot of guys who say respect my decision on their first commitment note and on their second commitment note and on their third commitment note. And it's like, I respect your decision, but maybe don't respect the way you go about the recruiting process. But, yeah, that's just kind of become like I don't know. These guys copy and paste their commitment announcements, and there's always a respect my decision on the end. It's just like something they all feel the need to put in there. But no surprise with Yusuf Terry, and, you know, best of luck to him. We saw a flash or two, but nothing really outside of that. It just didn't feel like it was a fit this season for whatever reasons. And, yeah, like I said, if I'm making predictions, I'm looking at Rutgers. I'm looking at West Virginia. I'm looking at those types of schools to probably be the next for Yusuf Terry.
Anthony Williams is the co-founder of Texas Football Showcase, and that apparently was an event. Brian Etheridge helped me with this. Thank you, Brian. And I did not see the text early enough. He was asking us to ask Monterey about Omari Evans, who's a young man that Baylor's also committed after, and Craig, you mentioned him, but to whether or not Monterey's already on that train of, hey, by the way, Omari, let's go to Baylor together. Although Omari's another year, right? Isn't he a 2022
he's
guy?
He's a 2022 guy, and I think he's going to probably – I mean, obviously Baylor offered him way earlier. I mean, he's not even a senior yet, and he's already getting the Baylor offer, whereas Monterey had to kind of wait. But I think Monterey made a good point about, you know, just COVID playing – tricks on you and certainly messing with the recruiting process. So that's definitely something that happened for him. But Omari Evans will be one to watch, and I'm trying to find
but while you're doing that, Anthony Williams will join us at 5:20. David Hellman, John McClain in the 5 o'clock hour. But Anthony Williams is one of those that kind of helped people realize what Monterey Baldwin was as an athlete, other than what he could also do at Shoemaker High with Toby Foreman.
Yeah, Omari Evans already has Arkansas, Boston College, Indiana, New Mexico, Baylor.
I saw where the Indiana quarterback's out for the year. Phoenix.
Yeah. Utah,
Penix.
Utah, SMU, Washington State. So, yeah.
It's a good list. All right, coming up next, many things to get to. Some of you have sent us questions. If we have the time, we'll absolutely try to ask. Mack Rhoades next on Sic'Em 365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations here to serve you. Waco, Woodward, Hewitt, China Spring, Mart, and Hillsboro. They've got all kind of things for you, like instant issue debit cards. You can turn it on and off. Like when you're traveling and maybe you're going to be overseas and you know that you're not going to use that debit card, then you can turn it off so you make sure that nothing happens to it. You can set spending limits if you have maybe a youngster in your family that you give a debit card to. So you can set spending limits. Maybe you just need to guard against yourself during the Christmas season and not shop till you drop. It's also, and I've talked about this before, the importance of having a local bank that knows you. Look, 2020 has been a hard year for a lot of people. You might need to make some hard financial decisions. You might need somebody to just take a chance on you or just to listen to your story. And if you go to a bank that's a big national bank, they don't know you. They don't live in the same community as you. You're just numbers on a piece of paper to them, and you fall into an algorithm. Well, the First National Bank of Central Texas is here to help you how they can, good times and bad times. That's what they do. The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here at home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, this 4 o'clock hour, Josh McQuistion, Soonerscoop.com, will join us on Oklahoma. We mentioned Charlie Brewer, the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award National Player of the Week. Also mentioned, of course, had an interview with a player who's committed to Baylor, a local high school player. Scott Drew earlier today. Mack Rhoades now joins us, Baylor's Director of Athletics on Sic'Em365. We could start with so many things, but let's start with Oklahoma and the game on Saturday. I have numerous people. By the way, thank you very much for your time today. I've had numerous people ask me, what happens if that game isn't played? Where are you? Do you know? Have you spoken with Joe Castiglione much about what's going on with them?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with the conference office and certainly with Joe, and you know, as everyone knows, right? They've had some issues with positive tests. Obviously, their game against West Virginia canceled, and you know, they're monitoring it closely. We're communicating back and forth, and you know, we'll have some clarity. Sometime here, probably within the 24 hours. You know, where specifically are they? You know, are they still able to play, or not able to play? Right. And that may continue, throughout the week as they continue to test and to monitor. And I hate that they're going through it. We've been through it, so understand and know everything that they're doing and feeling and having to deal with. So if for some reason the game isn't played, right, then when do you play it, or do you play it? And I think that's, again, unknown, right? Because really, the only date would be on the 19th of December, and they certainly, right now are in a position where they could be playing in the champ game, and so not sure that would be an option. So, again, it's part of what we're going through, and the uncertainty, and hoping for them that they're able to play, hoping for us and our kids that we're able to play.
If in fact there's a drop dead time, so to speak, do you have somebody on standby as a non-conference opponent if that game was to get shut down in the next 24 to 36 hours?
I think you know us well enough that we have a plan C, D, E, F, G. There's been conversation, right? I think obviously the hard part would be, I think we need to know here really soon that the game was canceled for us. Indeed, to pull the trigger on another opponent, but we've talked to several institutions, and there could be that possibility again if we know here in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, how do you? I guess the nervous part is how do you avoid, because if they have medium news in the next 24 hours, how do you avoid what I'm going to call, since it's now happened twice in a row, getting Tallahasseed?
Again, they're following, Oklahoma's following protocol. They're doing everything they can. They're communicating. We're communicating, and so I don't know that there's anything different we can do, right? And again, it's just it's a tough situation for them for obvious reasons, and for us, just the uncertainty and wanting to play another football game. I know our kids want to play, and so hopefully we'll hear some good news here soon, and we'll be able to play the game.
And Mack, I was just thinking about this yesterday as Dave Aranda was holding his press conference. That's only the second time he's been able to come in on a Monday and talk about a victory. And so I know that had to feel pretty good. I know Saturday night had to feel pretty good. It didn't look good early on, obviously, but that team kept fighting, and what a big win. I mean, did you feel the impact of just getting a win and the difference that can make?
Yeah, Craig, I appreciate saying it. It's, winning cures a lot of different things, and it's amazing the psychological difference between winning and losing. And I thought it was a great lift for our kids to be able to win that one, and particularly in the fashion that we did, from coming behind, right, almost completely opposite of what happened in Lubbock, and we never stopped fighting, continued to grind, and Charlie to some degree certainly willed us on the offensive side of the ball, and we certainly had a lot of other individuals contribute, but it was good to win. It was great for Coach Aranda, for our staff, for our kids, just to get some confidence, right, and to and maybe to just validate some of the things that we've been going through, some of the work, right, where when you don't win and you're on a losing streak, right, it's easy for you just start questioning, right, well, we've been doing this, and we've been working really hard, and we've been working really hard. We've had great energy at practice and all those things, and yet, it hasn't paid dividends yet. And so, that win against K-State, I think, really, to some degree, validated some of the work and some of the things that our kids have been doing and going through, as well as the staff.
What did you learn about Dave Aranda during that time when there seemed to be some improvement? It was not all four quarters, but what did you learn about him?
Again, I think he's got great perspective. He doesn't panic. There's a sense of urgency when there needs to be, and he's certainly, I've mentioned it. I think he's someone that's really mentally tough, and he's gonna stick to what he believes in, and there's so much going on this season, because of the pandemic, all of that, right, and he's been able to stay focused and turn off all of the outside noise and the criticism and all of those things, and just really focus on what he thinks is developing a winning program, a winning culture, and he's been really, really steady, and I certainly appreciate that.
Mack, we got a question on you from our text line about the seating diagram for home basketball games. How did you guys determine that, and what kind of went into how people will sit in home basketball games this year?
Holy cow! Now I've got to dig deep into my memory bank. That was about probably 10 meetings ago, but
okay.
A lot of it was obviously creating the tier one group, right? The group of 30, and making sure that there were buffer zones, 20 feet in front, 20 feet in back, obviously in front of the court, but in back, to the right and left, and making sure that we could create this bubble, so to speak, right? And so that 20 feet buffer really, created the starting point in terms of, where we begin to see, the public, right? And then, the 25% capacity, obviously throw that into the mix. And so those were all things that, that contributed to the seating chart, whether or not you're going to have the band, not have the band, right? Where do you place the spirit squad, right? The cheerleaders, dance team, so all of that was part of the formula in terms of the diagram. And I think, although configurations within, our league or our arena configurations are different, I think you'll see, pretty similar look when you think about both the visiting and home team bench areas, that they'll be pretty isolated. You'll see the buffer zones, right? Some will have visiting radio within that bubble. Some will have visiting radio outside of that bubble. So those were all the things that we talked about.
Mack, I don't know how often we actually ask you about specific assistant coaches, but in light of Jerome Tang, man in the sideline, coaching there for Coach Drew being out with COVID. Just what are your thoughts on Jerome Tang, getting to know him over these last few years? Obviously, you see his influence on the program and how well respected he is nationally. Just curious your thoughts on, the relationship with Coach Tang and what you see from him.
Well, here's what I know. He's 4-0 as head coach. Huh? So Coach Drew better be careful. Just how much time he spends away from the program, right? But I've got great respect for Coach Tang. He obviously he has great impact on the program. He's got great relationship with our student athletes. Obviously, Scott trusts him immensely. He is, and I can say this as an athletic director. I'd like to keep Coach Tang here as long as we possibly can. But man, he deserves an opportunity to be a head coach, and he's ready to be a head coach, and I think we'll be a head coach, and we're just we're blessed with every day that we have him here, and until that day happens for him, and I do think it will happen for him. But just a great job, and a great asset to the men's basketball program, but also to our athletics program.
Scott Drew's got several of those around the country. Matt Driscoll, Grant McCaslin, other
Paul
people
Mills.
like Paul Mills, now other people like that. What does it say to you as an athletic director when you're looking for a coach? Do you like coaches that essentially grow new head coaches?
Yeah, I do. I think it speaks to their confidence level in terms of growing people and helping them become better, and not afraid to lose them when they get to this professional development point where it's time for them to move on to that next level. I think you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, and if you're developing people that are good enough to be head coaches, right? I think that says a lot about just the talent level that you have around you. And so Scott's a really smart man and smart basketball coach, and he's done a great job of surrounding himself with really, really good people. And so for me, I like it. I want our people, whether it's an administration, staff member, coaching, whatever, I want our people to always grow and get better, because if you have people, stagnant, right, then you as an organization, you stay stagnant. And we need to continue to grow, continue to get better. And the only way you do that is if your people do that. And sometimes that means you lose them for a better opportunity. But that's a great opportunity for them and their family.
I want to throw a curveball at you on this Saturday thing. Let's say for some reason that game cannot be played. You have Oklahoma State the next week. Oklahoma is ahead of them in the Big 12 standings for playing in the conference championship game. Has there been any talk at all that game would be pushed back a week and Oklahoma State would not be made up?
I don't know if I followed you on that one. Say that one again. I'm sorry.
If your game with Oklahoma cannot be played this week, yet they're more involved in the conference championship chase right ahead of Oklahoma State because they won the head-to-head.
Yep.
Has there been any discussion within the conference that the game you would play on the 12th could end up being Oklahoma and not Oklahoma State?
There hasn't. So now I follow you, and I appreciate that. And no, there hasn't. And I haven't been able to really candidly look at standings and
right.
I think the West Virginia Oklahoma game is probably pretty important, which is right now scheduled for the 12th. And so I think that probably takes precedent over everything. So, but no conversation at this point in time.
Okay, all right. Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics, with us, Baylor University on Sic'Em365 Radio. How much was going on? If you would have had to have been in the same room with Scott Drew, but you weren't allowed to be because he was in quarantine and COVID, can you imagine him bouncing off the walls, trying to find games? You're on the phone. You're probably trying to find games. What was that like behind the scenes to make Vegas happen?
Here's what I do know is that because he couldn't be at practice and those things, and there wasn't, those things that normally occupy his time, right? I think he replaced that, at least some of it, with phone calls to me, and and so yeah, and so we had some really good conversations. As you all, Scott's he's great and he's always charging. And at one point in time, we may have had 80 scheduling scenarios out there, right? But he's relentless, and it's really because of him that we were able to play those two games in Vegas against Louisiana and Washington. And, I certainly thought it was critical that we played, two before we played, tomorrow night against Illinois, right? A really, really good Illinois team. And then obviously Saturday against Gonzaga. So, I'm glad we were able to work it out and find a way to play the two games.
Is a team in the Big 12, a football team, allowed to play on the same day that the conference championship game is being played? If you have, since that's going to be like whoever, can you play that day, or is that something that would be a no-no?
Right now, there's no rule that would prohibit it, at least in this current season with the pandemic. We're going to allow all teams to practice through the 19th, whether you're going to a bowl game or not. And so that was something that we decided to do because trying to predict, right? You can have teams with below 500, records this year go to bowl games, right? Obviously, Selection Sunday is the 20th, so you'll know and have clarity, and that's why we chose as a league to at least practice up until December 19th.
Anything else, guys?
Nope.
Mack, good stuff, man. Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for your time. A lot of stuff on I can't even imagine Scott Drew when he doesn't have a team to coach. God, you should get shrapnel pay or something like that from that.
You all have a great afternoon.
He's not going to even go.
I'm not going to go there.
Not going to even go
there.
there.
Like I said last week, Mac, we don't always approve what Smokey says.
Yeah, I know.
The views of Smokey don't take up the whole
There's
desk
always
here.
one. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
How transparent, though? So, one, to clarify and to summarize, you guys help with this. The game is definitely, it's touch and go.
I mean, I think we've probably raised the severity level probably in the last 30 minutes to making it sound like it's a lot more, likely to not happen than it is to happen. I think we're still like right in the middle. At this point, I don't think we're swaying either way right now. So, the basic gist of it is the Oklahoma game's 50-50 to happen this Saturday. And if it doesn't happen, then they will have to have some discussions to try and figure out what to do with it. And it sounds like there's a good chance that maybe they don't play Oklahoma this year. I mean, if OU has to cancel this Saturday just because of scheduling, and I mean, it's December 1st. It was one thing when we were there in October talking about, let's play like December 12th. And like, that's forever away. That's 11 days away from now. And that's the big makeup weekend. That's 11 days away. So there's not really much room. And we just got to hope, I guess, if we want to see football this Saturday, that Oklahoma's going to be good to go.
Max Olson, who joins us on Thursdays at 4 o'clock, when you put up the quote from Mack Rhoades, we have plans C, D, E, F, and G. We need to know something soon, whatever. He then said, would they think about moving Oklahoma back a week because they're in play to play for the championship? Although Oklahoma State celebrated their Big 12 championship title appearance back in September.
Mm-hmm. Never celebrate in September, folks.
Yeah, so Max listens at times to us when we have Mac on because that's part of what he does, the athletic directors, the access or whatever, but he even asked.
Also, I doubt that there's many athletic directors that do weekly.
Yeah.
And especially, I would think that anybody who wants to listen to, we could just put all the Mack Rhoades of the last 8 months together into here's how, this is the book on the pandemic of the thoughts of an athletic director. It's really quite telling about what we've heard. And then you have some people that, athletic directors that, they'll say something when they have something to say, like, here's the news. Okay. Why is that? Because it is. Okay. See you later. And that's where it gets kind of weird. You feel uncomfortable with Mac. I mean, people sometimes after they listen to Mac, send me texts saying they'll ask more questions, knowing that we'll ask them and get them answered as long as they're reasonable, not out of left field questions.
So the game with Oklahoma they're thinking about what's going to happen here. All the Lincoln Riley was a little bit darker than maybe you guys saw, but said that, we'll see what happens. If in fact that game's not played, if they know within let's say 24 hours, Baylor has plans C, D, E, F, and G.
Yeah.
Who that might be, who knows? La Tech's not going to play TCU on the 12th. That means you have to find somebody else
who's
not playing, this weekend. And that's got to be a quick turnaround. That means you have others on the hook. By the way, line 1. Mac, line 1. Jeremiah, line 2. Jovan, line 3.
And
right?
this was supposed to be
whoever line 4.
A road game for Baylor, so that they not only have to do that, they have to turn around probably a home game.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a non-conference game. It has to be a home game. They made that as part of the deal.
Yeah, so
great.
Yeah, you turn around a home game. So
the other part of it would be this, that there has been no discussion about whether or not they would push that game back a week and replace Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's still in the discussion, so nothing's been said there yet. And they are probably not going to play, as some of you asked me to ask, and so I did. They would not play December 19th against a non-conference opponent. They can practice through that date, but probably looks like that's going to be an off week, or that would be the last game they play, whoever it's going to be on December the 12th, if in fact they play December the 12th, right?
Well, I would say this. I had asked Mac a week or two ago about the plans for practices and bowl games and things like that. Because Baylor at that time at one win, they're not getting invited to any bowl game. But given the bowl schedule has, seen cancellations, and I don't know what games are going to be played at this point. Like, if there was one like in Houston, for example, and they need somebody to bring a few bit of fans, then, Baylor could be an option potentially, especially if they're playing better towards the end of the year. But my main reasoning for asking was not so much seeing this team in a bowl game. It's more because I wanted to see this team have bowl practices. And now that they're, obviously riding under the rule of everybody's practicing bowl eligible or not, or everybody's bowl eligible, but bowl game or not, everybody's practicing the 19th. That to me is huge news. Like, it's not a bunch of extra time. It's not filling in for all the spring ball that you missed or even the fall ball that you missed, but that's an extra week or so of practices that you, as a team that's growing, could certainly use. I mean, that would be definitely on my list of things that could be super beneficial for this program. More practicing is right at the top of the list. If you can get these practices week and a half or a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, and then get your spring ball in regularly, I think it's going to make all the difference in the world.
If they end up 2-7, but get a chance to have bowl practices, it is absolutely important. If they can, because my goodness, we know that anything they could have extra before, if in fact we're taking spring drills for granted like we did at this time a year ago, we never would have thought, okay, yeah, they have spring drills, whatever. I got 11-3, and they get to go into spring drills. Who knows? But I think any extra practices would be huge. And I think it's great that they can practice through the 19th because that's a week longer than your season even lasted.
Yeah, and even with the spring ball, coming back around again, obviously there was just not nearly enough known the last time spring ball was taking place about COVID and everything involving that. Now they kind of have an idea of how to deal with it. So if like Kalen Barnes, for example, got a COVID scare or something in spring ball, then isolate Kalen Barnes and whoever he contact traced with, but you could still have the majority of your team out there continuing to practice. And so that sure beats, even if guys are missing time, having no practices whatsoever, because there's nobody that can come up with a real argument to say that has not had a negative impact on this team with a new coaching staff and all of that. I mean, we've documented it well enough at this point, but it mattered, and it will matter to get these extra practices.
All right, when we come back, Josh McCuistion, what's he hearing, what's he seeing, what's he's doing as far as Oklahoma and Baylor coming up on Saturday? We're expecting to have Spencer Tillman Friday, Gabe Eichard on Friday, also Tim Brando on Thursday, Barry Switzer Thursday. So hopefully that game does go on. This is Sic'Em 365 Radio. Pioneer still in pipe. 1943, they opened their doors. 1943. Look at and think about all of the events around the world that have happened since 1943. And think about how the economy has changed since 1943. And think about how many businesses that were open back then, local, have been chewed up because of the big box stores that come in and just squat and just knock people out of the way. And Pioneer's still in pipe right there in Waco, here in Waco and in Bryan, Texas, are still open and still doing everything that they do when it comes to metal buildings, metal roofing, pipe and steel products, and doing it as well as you could possibly do it. One, the product is fantastic. The customer service is unmatched because 77 years tells you that. You have to have great product, and then when you have also the customer service that's more than just a slogan when it comes to metal buildings, metal roofing, pipe and steel, helping you get through a project, helping you get what you need, helping deliver it to where is the site of what you're building. That's how you stay in business for nearly 80 years, and they continue to grow. Building at whatever you need, commercial, residential, maybe something that's at a ranch, agriculture type of area, big, huge ranch, farm, they could do it all. Pioneer's still in pipe. The Pioneer Boys open Monday through Friday, but also if you can't get through them before they close in the early evening, they're open Saturdays from 8 until noon at pioneerboys.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day, payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
This is Sic'Em 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sic'Em 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Josh McQuistion, Soonerscoop.com. He's been covering Oklahoma for a long, long time. We've had him on for many, many years. And it's been a while, though. And Josh McQuistion, Soonerscoop.com, joins us. Josh, we just had Mack Rhoades on, and obviously there's a lot of discussion with what Oklahoma's dealing with COVID. Baylor's been through this, and now we've seen other programs dealing with, almost day to day. Do you think they're going to play Saturday?
I really do. Honestly, I would say on Sunday, maybe Saturday evening, I thought it was a coin flip, but hearing some of the things I'm hearing, it feels like the momentum is moving back in the right direction. So we'll have to see what kind of can come from that. But it does feel more positive. You can hear my 2-year-old in the background. I apologize. But, it feels like over the last 48 hours, it's become a little bit more hopeful. Where over the weekend it was just, let's see what happens. But it felt a little ominous, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Josh, how bad did it get for them? Did they give you any kind of idea of that per the football team and not just over our athletes? Because they almost didn't play Bedlam, but still won that game.
Yeah, there was going into Bedlam, there was a little bit of concern. There was a few guys, obviously, that were out, but it wasn't as widespread. This, you're hearing staff members. This is the first really since probably mid to late summer when Oklahoma kind of returned back to campus for the first time. This is really the first real scare Oklahoma has had. There's been a couple of, 3, 4 players here, that kind of thing. This is real numbers, where they're really having some issues. Now, like I said, I haven't heard, I guess we've all gotten used to watching this as, okay, what do the position groups look like? Is the offensive line going to be okay? Or the quarterback? I haven't heard anything like the Denver Broncos scenario where you're having to live with your whole room being out at quarterback or something like that. So none of that has come to pass. And I think there is some positive, movement, because a lot of the talk that I've heard is that by Friday, some of the cases that they have positive tests for will have passed their 10 days. So if they can have their negative test, then a lot of those players, including some staff that I've heard about, could eventually, actually even be okay to play on Saturday.
So, Josh, one of the things about Oklahoma this year is that they're not just winning games solely offensively. They're winning games with their defense as well. There's a certain swagger, to use an overused word, surrounding this unit. What has it, been like watching the growth of Alex Grinch's unit? What has been so different from last year, maybe in some cases? And just why are they playing so well in general?
Last year there was growth. I mean, you saw a group that was better than what it had been, but I mean, it's not that hard to grow from just a pavement dwelling defense. It was just terrible. But, they did. They showed growth. They showed signs. They could come up with stops when they needed to, really, until they ran into Joe Burrow. But, with what you've seen this year, I think the biggest sign of the growth is the defensive line play. I mean, Oklahoma has a front four that are, and again, they're running a 3-down set, so front four is used a little bit loosely. But you've got 4 guys that can absolutely get after the passer. Ronnie Perkins has returned since Texas Tech. He has been a dominant force for Oklahoma, playing better than I've ever seen him play. He looks like the guy he was recruited to be, was the national top 100 guy, all of these things. But the guy that I don't think's gotten enough credit and probably got snubbed a little bit with the Butkus list this week was Nick Benito, the outside linebacker. He's, currently at about 10 tackles for loss on the year, 6.5 sacks. He's one of the league leaders. Really is he's a quiet guy, and he doesn't do a lot of the big celebrations on the field like Ronnie Perkins and some of these other guys. So I think he goes a little under the radar, but he has, for my money, he's been Oklahoma's best and most consistent player this season. So you're just seeing Oklahoma creating a lot of pressure up front. They're doing it consistently. You look at that Bedlam game. I mean, that was the group that made it nearly impossible for Oklahoma State to come back after they fell down early, just because Shane Illingworth, Spencer Sanders, neither one had any time in the pocket to ever get comfortable.
What do you see if you've watched, and they have not been in the forefront like at this time last year when Baylor and Oklahoma were about to play at McLean Stadium in that unbelievable game where Oklahoma was down big and then came back to win it. And then even the game in the Big 12 championship game was close when Baylor almost had the Chris Platt touchdown from Zeno. Have you been able to watch Baylor much at all? And what do you see right now when you do watch them, if you have?
I really, it's one of those things too where there's 2 parts of this. There's been some overlap with Oklahoma and Baylor games where I've been watching Oklahoma late and it was like, I'm going to get around to Baylor and just didn't get a chance to do it. Or, frankly, being in this market, I'm going to say something and I will say something wrong and everybody will tear me apart for it.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I want to be careful. But what I do see, the thing that impresses me is with all the turnover, all the change, the coaching staff, and I was and I'm sure you guys were right there with me, I was a huge Matt Rule fan. I just love the way he operated, and clearly he's off to a great start in Carolina. But, I wondered how that could carry over under the new staff. And it seems, like this isn't it would have been easy with the problems Baylor had early in the year with COVID and just some of the losses. It would have been easy to see this team, being the one that's coming into this game with COVID problems because the players have just checked out and they don't care. There's none of that. I mean, you see a good energy from that program, and I'm hopeful that Dave Aranda can continue building what Matt Rule kind of laid the foundation for, because like I said, there's no reason Baylor shouldn't be a very successful program. And there's 10 years of evidence now to say that that's a thing that should be done.
What would scare you the most about playing this game? Would it be just that they haven't practiced and being rusty against a Baylor team that did actually, get a win last week?
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking at an Oklahoma team that is, frankly, at Bedlam was peaking at the right time. I mean, a lot of their big-time playmakers were coming around. Like I said, the return of Ronnie Perkins as well as Ramondre Stevenson has been huge for Oklahoma. So there were all these things that looked like Oklahoma was clicking. Well, just as easily as that stuff can come, it can go. And you wonder how Oklahoma is going to kind of pick up the ball and get moving again. Now, they've started practice again yesterday, so there is reason to believe they can shake off that rust. And it's, they missed a couple of practices. You don't want to make more of it than it is. But there's no question. I mean, these guys are young guys. It's easy for them to fall out of rhythm. It's easy for them to kind of lose focus. And when you think, I don't know if I'm playing on Saturday, that becomes very easy. So, like I said, we'll have to see. But, I mean, that has to be one of Oklahoma's primary concerns because, I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything wild here to say this is a game Oklahoma should win. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, this is there's plenty of talent on that Baylor offense or that Baylor team that Oklahoma is obviously incredibly familiar with. They've got to know that this is a team that can scare them if they're not careful.
Josh, what kind of growth have you seen from Spencer Rattler as he's continued to accumulate starts?
Just a guy that I thought early in the season, and he has some special skills. I mean, when the ball comes out of his hand, I've had the pleasure of watching guys like Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray and Sam Bradford and all these great quarterbacks that have played at Oklahoma. Kyler Murray's the only one I can think of that when the ball came out of his hand, it looked like Spencer Rattler. It just pops out of his hand. And so he'll make some throws that just astound you. Even in the first game of the year, they were playing nobody, but at the same time, you thought, wow, this is special. This is unique. But at the same time, you saw things that you haven't seen from Oklahoma quarterbacks because we've been watching all these veteran players for the last 3 or 4 years. But I think as time has gone on, he's gotten better with the clock in his head. At times, he wanted to play like it was high school, and even if, there was pressure, he was a better athlete than the guys chasing him, so he could get away from him. He had to adjust to that he's not going to outrun Texas linebackers. He's not going to outrun Big 12 linebackers. Those guys are going to go catch him. So you've got to get rid of the ball. And I think at the same time, he's gotten better with his decision-making. He had one really, really bad one early on against I'm going to blank out on who. It was a couple of weeks ago. I apologize. I got there and then the name escaped me. But he had one really bad one over the middle that you kind of forgave. And other than that, since the Texas game, he has been really good about taking care of the ball and not putting Oklahoma in bad situations, which was a real issue really going into the Iowa State game. That was early in the season. You would see all these great throws, and then you would just see a moment of, this isn't high school, man. You've got to be cleaner with the ball.
When Kennedy Brooks decided to opt out, we saw him when he was a high school star, and we also saw what he developed into at Oklahoma. And they finally have been able to get, Stevenson, the big back. He's had a really nice run. But how much did that set them back initially, early in the year, not having him?
Oh, huge. I mean, there's no question. I mean, you think about it, there was every reason in the world when Oklahoma left the field of the Peach Bowl last year, they thought they were going to have their top 3 running backs this year. Kennedy Brooks, Trey Sermon, and Ramondre Stevenson. Now, Stevenson had been suspended for that game, so you knew you were going to miss him for a little bit. But what does it matter? You've got Kennedy Brooks and Trey Sermon returning, 2 guys with a ton of experience. Trey Sermon chooses to transfer to Ohio State. Kennedy Brooks opts out. So now you're with T.J. Pledger, who was your 4th-string running back last year, Steph McGowan, a true freshman that is also very talented, and then you've got Marcus Major, a redshirt freshman from Oklahoma City that didn't play at all a year ago, or at least not any meaningful snaps. So there were all these things that you thought coming into the season you knew about that room, and it went from one of the deepest on the roster to one of the most bare. And I thought TJ Pledger played a great game against Texas, really came up when OU needed him, made some tough runs, picked up some first downs when they needed them, and really helped OU into overtime. But he's not a game-changing running back. He's a good, solid player. You could see it the second Stevenson came back. That offensive line looked more crisp. Everybody just kind of went up a notch. And Kennedy Brooks is a loss that Oklahoma definitely felt. But I'll be honest, if I'm picking the guy that is more able to help Oklahoma, I think Ramondre Stevenson is a very good back that a lot of people just don't know enough about yet.
I know we've got to go because we have a guest that we're running late with, but it's amazing we have you on today, and we hadn't even brought up Bob Stoops because of all this going on. How about that, huh?
We were joking around about it, some of the guys on our site in a little group chat we have. Like, what if they brought Bob back? Because some of the rumors you're hearing are defensive guys, and then sure as the world, Bob, he's come to save Oklahoma football. So it's too funny, and the jokes kind of write themselves. But obviously not a bad guy to call in off the bench.
Thank you, Josh. Craig, thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Josh McCuistion, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, David Smoke, Armstrong Sims, Sic'Em365 Radio, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, and then we'll hear from someone that kind of helped discover Monterey Baldwin a little bit during the offseason, and we'll also hear from John McClain, Sic'Em365 Radio.
Brotherwell Brewing, 400 East Bridge Street, just next to us. Look, if you are a craft beer fan, you've got to try it out. They've got so many varieties. They've got seasonal stuff. Look, the main three, the Active Faith, the Bridge Street Vit, and the Hidden Herd, are absolutely some of the best beer I've ever had, and we have it every week during the Fantasy Football Show. They've given us a lot of it just to try. All of it's great. And if you look for the holidays coming up, if you've got a person who's a craft beer fan, why don't you go and get them some Brotherwell beer, especially if they haven't tried it yet, and let them try it out. They've got curbside and carryout available Monday through Thursday, 4 to 9, Friday and Saturday, noon to 9, and Saturday, noon to 7. So try out Brotherwell Brewing. Check out more at brotherwellbrewing.com or check out their Instagram feed.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville, but we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, "Your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy," that's a bit harsh. Instead, try something like, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And then if they refuse, you can say, "Well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state." Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
When it comes to value and great customer service, you can count on us. Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. As a Customer First Award of Excellence winner, our customers always receive exceptional service, and during the Big Finish event, you save thousands on every car, truck, and SUV. Plus, most vehicles feature 0% financing. The Big Finish event. Now at your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Here is a handoff, and all the way to the house is Antonio Gibson. What a turn of events.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
5 o'clock hour. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. David, do you think the Cowboys will ever play again?
Yeah, at some point, but I'm not counting my chickens yet. It seems like Baltimore, Pittsburgh is on for Wednesday, so hopefully Tuesday is hopefully it's Tuesday, but I'm keeping my eyes peeled. I definitely don't trust it until we get a little bit closer with the way everything's gone.
So to rewind to Thanksgiving a little bit, that was a 4-point game in the fourth quarter with 12 minutes left. They got real out of hand real fast, and it all started with I'll just say questionable would be nice, coaching decision on the fake punt. What is the general feeling about Mike McCarthy and these riverboat chances that he's taking?
Man, there's riverboat chances, and then there's that. And I've been very supportive of how aggressive Mike McCarthy has been for the most part. I mean, you're not going to win them all. Everybody knows that, but I'm always in favor of an aggressive mindset. So I don't want to sound hypocritical, but that's not aggressive. That's reckless. It wasn't 4th and short. You weren't in questionable territory. You were deep in your own territory. You called a play that put the receiver 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So you're really asking a guy to pick up 20. The read was to a first-year punter who's only played in 2 or 3 NFL games. And like you said, it was a 4-point game. And, the last 2 times out on the field, the defense had forced a 3-and-out and intercepted Alex Smith. So they actually seemed to be playing okay. Most of Washington's points prior to that point had come on short fields, after the Zeke fumble, after another missed 4th down. So, yeah, they took the game away from their team. And like I said, I like aggressive play calling. That wasn't aggressive. It was reckless and kind of dumb, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just seemed like it. And that game was so close. What was the 20-16?
20-16 at that point. And then all of a sudden it was, and David, I'm sure that you felt this a little bit. It was like Mike McCarthy just went over and popped his own balloon of his team's momentum and emotion.
Absolutely. And, I mean, if you needed further proof, the very next play was a Washington untouched touchdown run, which, probably the first time we've seen that egregious of a touchdown in the last 2 or 3 weeks because they've been playing so well. You can't convince me that was not morale related. And so, I said on Thursday, this team has lost 8 games. I think the players deserve a ton of blame for the way that most of those have been lost.
but I chalk that loss up to the coaching staff more than anything. They put their team in bad situations time after time, and it contributed to the game getting away from them in the fourth quarter.
David, what's this week kind of been like with, I mean, I know they're typically used to post-Thanksgiving, but with maneuvering around of the schedule, like what's kind of going on at the Star this week?
You know, I want to be less of a bummer and like give y'all more. Like, I wish I had this crazy inside information, but like again, like I think I've probably said this 20 different times on the phone with y'all. Is like I'm not there. Like, you know, in trying to limit the possibility of exposure, the risk of being around people. Like, if the team's not having availability, I don't go. And so, you know, they're not practicing yet. Obviously, they're dealing with a way longer extended week than they were expecting. And so it's pretty much just conference calls. I know it's just super weird trying to, you know, you kind of settle into this routine of 7 days at a time, you know, 6 days and then game, or 4 days and then game. So it's been very weird. You know, they had brief availability on Friday, and then you basically have 3 days off. And I think the PR staff has very graciously provided players for us for the last 2 days just so we have something to write about and talk about. But there's not a whole lot going on up there, at least from our perspective, unless the team is practicing, and they're not right now. So it's very weird how dead it's been during, you know, the middle of what is technically a game week.
Have you already started thinking about the draft?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Very shameless plug, but, you know, we at DallasCowboys.com just announced that, you know, we announced our new lineup for our draft programming. I think we're starting on Friday. So we'll be doing weekly draft shows through the month of December, and then we'll really kick it into gear when the season's actually over. But, yeah, and listen, I know, you know, the Cowboys very much could still win the NFC East, but in a season like this with this much disappointment, I think it's very obvious what the fan base is interested in right now, and that's the draft. So I'm more than happy to give them what they want.
Do you think, and he would never admit this ever, but that after Thanksgiving that Jerry Jones might have had a little bit of buyer's remorse, or that he's not hearing those bells anymore?
In regards to
Mike McCarthy. He said he heard bells when he hired Mike McCarthy. I'm wondering if right now those are not the right kind of bells that he heard.
You know, I really, I don't want to sound like too much of an apologist, but like, if Jerry, I talked this whole thing up as an apologist, and yes, like it's been a terrible season. The Cowboys, even before things went really south, they looked much more poorly coached. And you know, you can throw out the excuse about not having an offseason all you want, but y'all's buddy Matt Rule has put together a much more competent football team over in Carolina than this one has looked at times. So I'm not really buying that. So yeah, like I definitely think there's some blame to put on this coaching staff, but at the same time, I mean, you lose your quarterback, you lose basically the entire offensive line. You lose, you know, a couple of the big free agency signings you were counting on before the season even starts. You know, I'm not trying to say Mike McCarthy's going to bounce back and be the best coach in the league, but I have a hard time judging him off of this season based on just the crazy odds that he's working against. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to wind up being a great hire, but I'm not ready to say that Jerry Jones should have buyer's remorse after this very insane season.
By the way, speaking of Matt Rule, I've watched a lot of his games, and sometimes it's because of timing. And their game against Minnesota was a heartbreaking loss for them. But even then, they got in position to possibly win it with the missed field goal. But I see what he's doing there, and I don't know how many times you guys have watched. I see what he's doing in Carolina with grown men that's similar to what we saw him doing even when losing at Baylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I get so tired of hearing the same stuff, and like every time the Cowboys lose, people love to trot out like the COVID-19 offseason and no training camp, no mini camp, none of that. We didn't get our draft picks on campus, and then I look at Matt Rule, who was working with the same problems because he's a first-year coach. He's also never coached in the NFL. Oh, and by the way, the Panthers were widely expected to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Like, people were penciling them in as a team that was going to draft in the top 3. And don't get me wrong, I think they're 4-7. They're not good, but if you watch their games, they don't look as hapless as the Cowboys have many times this year. They pushed the Saints to the brink. They played Kansas City really tough. Like, they lost a heartbreaker to Minnesota. So I get tired of hearing the excuses about how unprecedented this all has been, because I see Carolina handling it much, much better.
Thank you, David. I saw your note. Go ahead. I saw your note about L.J. Collier and his. How do you say that word? The celebration he used, that dance.
So actually, you probably feel like an old head talking to me, but I dated myself there because there's been some controversy. Man, we're about to get real dorky, and I apologize for that, but. What I thought he was doing was a Hadouken, which is it's a move from the Street Fighter video games that I played when I was a kid. But apparently, the youth have told me that it's actually a Kamehameha, which is from Dragon Ball Z, which is a super popular cartoon. Which actually Dragon Ball Z isn't even new, but I think it's really popular with younger people. So I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but I know a lot of people were giving me grief, like, bro, nobody even plays Street Fighter anymore, which I guess I probably should have thought about. But either way, I thought it was fun.
Welcome aboard the old train.
I'm definitely in Team Street Fighter.
One day you wake up and all your pop culture references are out of date.
For a second, I thought it was the Haka dance like Euless Trinity does. But hey, thanks, David. Appreciate it, man. Stay safe. We appreciate you. That's David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. With us on Sic'Em365 Radio. Anthony Williams, co-founder, Texas Football Showcase, on Monterey Baldwin, who we had on earlier today, who today committed to Baylor. He'll be next on Sic'Em365 Radio.
If you are in the market for a new home or trying to sell the one you have, and if you're probably B, if you're already a homeowner, you need to call my good friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, powered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713. Lance is a great guy. He's going to hear everything you have to say, and he's going to help you find that dream home. He's going to be fun to look at houses with. He's going to find all kind of stuff you never even thought you knew you wanted. And you can go to exprealty.com or just Google Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty. You can see the listings that he has on the web right now. As a matter of fact, if you do it, it'll send you an email back, asking about your inquiry and getting more information about you. So the process is really easy to start. Or just give him a call, straight up and down, 254-214-3713 for my good friend Lance Donaldson and eXp Realty.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio.
The Sic'Em 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, here we go, this 5 o'clock hour. Anthony Williams, the co-founder of Texas Football Showcase, joins us on Sic'Em 365 Radio. We had Monterey Baldwin on earlier live, the Shoemaker wide receiver, kick returner, and he gets an offer from Baylor. He commits. That came down today. It's all happened fast, but Anthony had a chance to see a little bit from Monterey Baldwin. A lot of players have not had a chance to showcase themselves, but he saw it firsthand. He joins us on Sic'Em 365 Radio. Anthony, thanks for coming on late notice. So, what did you see at the showcase, and how proud and excited are you for what Monterey now has an opportunity to do?
I'm super excited. First, thanks for having me on the show, guys, and never last minute. Whenever you need me, I'm here for you. Whatever it takes to promote Texas high school student athletes, I'm all for it. You know, me and Coach Anthony Wood, we've been running the Texas Football Showcase now since 2009. Little history. We started this, back when, Rivals wasn't coming here, and a lot of the other showcases, 24/7, we were coming to Austin. So we started to do our own, and it's grown over the last 10 years. And then just past August, in the middle of COVID, we had all these events being canceled. And so Anthony and I did a showcase out at the Round Rock Multipurpose Center, and Monterey showed up. And literally, so one of the things about our showcase is that we do laser testing. We use the same equipment they use for the NFL Combine because we want players and athletes, coaches, to know that the times are accurate in the laser. Well, this kid comes out, and previous to Monterey, our fastest 40 time ever at our events was a 4.56 laser, and he blew that away. He ran a 4.49. We thought, okay, he's moving pretty good. Let's see him do it again. And then he went there again. He literally ran 4.49 laser twice, and we knew he had something special. So I've gotten to know him and his family really well. He works out with a good friend of mine, Larry Shaw, down here in the Austin area. Super excited for him. He's a great kid from a great family, mature, and will be a great addition to the Baylor Bear program.
I know it's probably not completely fair to extrapolate out, but this is a kid who's running a 4.49 when he's 16 or 17. What does that usually in your business kind of mean that he can maybe even get faster, right?
Absolutely. If you guys have seen Monterey's frame, still, he's like a 61, 65. He's got a lot of frame, but he's just got fast twitch, guys. That turnover is not going away. I mean, he was an elite track athlete, and I don't know if you know his last couple games here at Shoemaker, he played DB, 25 yards, but he has got next level speed that absolutely will help out the Baylor program.
We got to, kind of learn a little bit about his personality with our interview earlier, but, you're around him in a much more relaxed setting. What do you see from him as far as a competitor, his personality? Like, what are some of those attributes that you picked up on being around Monterey?
A couple of things I see about him is tough. Great hands for one thing. He's got really soft hands, really strong hands. And the thing I like about him watching this film, he's not afraid to go over the middle. You think these fat guys, they just want to run vertical routes and bubbles and things like that. Monterey's got no fear. He's got big heart, bigger than his body. He's not afraid to go over the middle. Linebackers and safeties, and he also blocks. He's a 5-tool receiver. He can run, catch, he can block, he'll go over the middle, he'll stretch the defense vertically. He can check a lot of boxes. I think that's going to be his future, adding some value on special teams.
What do you think it means to him? He told us, but for someone like yourself who you saw him kind of like explode with what he did with that 4.49, you mentioned the kind of young man he is, and we saw that. I spoke with his mother, and she gave us some great background on him. How much was the lack of maybe attention bothering him, in your opinion?
I missed the last part. Well, how much what?
How much was the lack of offers or attention from some of the larger schools or the Power 5 schools? How much was that bothering him?
It's a good question. Monterey's not a kid that's like, D1 or bust or one of these P5 programs after me, like the other ones and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually, just so you know a little bit about, I don't know if we mentioned it, he's on we do a Sunday night prayer, me and Larry and a bunch of athletes, and he's on every week. He's very grounded, and he's never been somebody to kind of, hey, look at me. He just has a great work ethic, and so he wasn't worried about, schools not being listened. He was only concerned about the schools that were showing interest and showed a lot of respect to those coaches. And so having Baylor, like I said before, kind of his dream school, finally offer and trusting the process and just keeping your head down and working, keeping his academics up, keep working as an athlete. I just can't say how proud of I am and that his dream is coming true and going to his dream school.
These events, it's been a year where because of COVID, a lot of guys haven't had that opportunity. So how critical was it for him to pop off like that and not pop off verbally, but pop off the charts with what he did and when there aren't many of these things available right now?
Well, and great point, and that's one of the reasons why Coach Wood and I wanted to host the event. We had very strict COVID-19 protocols in place. The kids wore masks, they separated themselves, but it was one of the only a handful of showcases out there. And so, he showed up with his parents and, quiet, not a lot of fanfare, and just, killed every combine test and looked really good in the one-on-ones. And so we knew after that event, my phone started, ringing up the hook. I did talk with, one of the coaches there, Sean Bell, is a good friend of mine, and I told him about him and wanted to know, hey, what you posted, was that real? And I said, guys, it's as real as it can get, because I'm one of those old school guys. I see kids posting, I ran a 4.39. I'm like, dude, no, you didn't. And it's hand time, it doesn't count anyway. So no disrespect, but my son Aaron played at Texas for 9 years, Buffalo Bills. I know what speed looks like, and Monterey was a true legit 4.49. I'm so happy for him that his ability showed off, and that somebody like the Baylor staff recognize it, are going to lock him in and send him going out of state.
Yeah, it's a very cool story. And Anthony, you have a very interesting perspective working with these athletes, and we've had the opportunity to kind of talk to some high school kids, some high school coaches, even college coaches and players. But from your perspective, how difficult has this year been as far as just the athlete, the young man, young woman dealing with all the trials and tribulations, especially that have been presented, in athletics with all the interruptions and day-to-day things that are changing constantly? How have you seen these young people kind of respond to all this?
They've been very resourceful. This is unprecedented time for people like you and I. I'm a former coach, and you guys have been covering recruiting for a long time, and we've just never had anything like this ever. I think these kids, because they're so social media savvy, they have shown I'm going to send videos. They can't send game film. I'm going to send you video of me pushing my truck in my driveway, or working out old school, doing push-ups and running. They've done everything they could to get some fresh content to help out any way they can in their recruiting, especially with no combines going on. And it's even tougher for the coaches. As hard as these kids have worked, I think you're going to see a lot of missed evaluations over the next couple classes because there just hasn't been enough input on these kids. So I expect the transfer portal to be very active, more than normal this time next year, because a lot of coaches are just going by, well, that kid's got offered by Baylor, maybe we should offer him too, and that's not true evaluation. So it's hard for both sides, college coaches and players, right? I think players are being resourceful. I think coaches are looking for any fresh content they can get, whether it's game video, because you only watch so much huddle video. I think you guys know that already, like me.
Right.
Eventually you want to hear about the kid, and Monterey came on, a little podcast. Monterey came on and talked about himself and what his goals are as a student athlete from an education standpoint, and when football's over. And I think that kind of helped set him apart. And one of the reasons why I think Baylor fans said, yeah, this is a kid that not only is a fit athletically, but he's a fit from a culture and program standpoint. So he can check out the box with him. I'm very proud of him.
It's amazing how it all intermixes as well. Toby Foreman, the head coach, knew George Munoz, who recruited players when he was at Beaumont Central. He knew Matthew Pallage, who he coached when he was at Huntsville High School, and then the Sean Bell connection as well. Anthony, thanks for jumping on such quick notice, late notice with us, and give us a little more insight on Monterey Baldwin. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thank you, guys. Anytime you need me. Thanks.
Anthony Williams, co-founder of Texas Football Showcase on Monterey Baldwin. So we've heard from Monterey yesterday from his coach, and today from somebody that saw him pop the 4.49 twice.
Yeah,
at that event.
I just think it's cool. Like, there's normally a story like this or two, each year, but I just think it's awesome. Like, I don't know about everybody else out there, but this young man was bound for Incarnate Word, which is fine. Like, that's cool. You're going to play college football on a free scholarship, and with very little time until signing day, here comes Baylor. Let's compare Baylor and Incarnate Word. There's not much of a comparison to be made. That's Big 12 football versus non-Power 5 football. And, the fact that he had a like for the Bears prior to that, the fact that it's close to home, and it's an hour drive. An hour away. You can go home that quick. So, it just sounds like it all worked out for him. I think that's really cool because that doesn't always happen. Where you work, and especially in a year like this, him falling through the cracks would have been totally understandable, but, this might be a even more interesting story here in a few years, depending on what he does at Baylor.
I agree. Yeah.
The fact that they, were able to get in on him late, but, what a life-changing day for him. To think you're going down to San Antonio, you're going to play there, and, here come the Bears and completely flip your life upside down. It's awesome.
His mom said that they were in that, and I know we got to go to a break with John McClain, but his mom said they were in that Zoom prayer session. He walks in the door. He's running late. She's kind of wondering where he is. He walks in the door and tells her about Toby Foreman has contacted him to tell him about Baylor. And then next thing you know, he, of course, missed that prayer session, which he doesn't like to do, and she didn't want him to. And then she screamed so loud. She said, I think you could probably have heard me in Waco. This happened fast, and Baylor needed that. And who knows, maybe the win on Saturday had nothing to do with it. Maybe it just kind of turns the tide. They, of course, have their work cut out for them with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. When we come back, John McClain, man, how is the NFL? What in the world? Are they ever going to cancel a game? Baltimore and Pittsburgh will play on New Year's Day. Is that right, Paul? By the time everyone else has to wait for them. We'll discuss that with John McClain, the Texans, Deshaun Watson, and what they've done and what they haven't done. This is Sic'Em 365 Radio. Jay Arrett is the owner of Pickup Outfitters, and what he's done is amazing. And right now, through December the 5th, special truck owner offers bed covers, all models, free installation, additional rebates available on many of the bed covers, $50 off all the toolboxes, $100 off the RKI or WeatherGuard heavy-duty toolboxes, $50 off all grill guards, $75 off the Ranch Hand grill guards, $300 off Ranch Hand front bumpers installed, and $150 off the Ranch Hand rear bumpers installed. Spray in bed liners with a lifetime warranty. $50 off. $150 off of AMP Research or Aries Action Track Power running boards. On and on. Wheels and tires, free mount and balancing. Fiberglass truck caps, camper shells, $250 off. Step bars, $20 off. $40 off, depending on the size or how high. Custom fit floor liners. Buy a front floor liner, get the rear floor liner 30% off. WeatherTech Cup phones in stock. Don't forget gift certificates. I'm telling you, Pickup Outfitters. Jay Ehret's lost his mind. CreateACommotion.com at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
This note on this is on Sic'Em365. Keith Smith, NBA. Per league sources, the Suns have signed Jonathan Motley, former Baylor big, to a camp contract as the NBA is going back full throttle. We're now joined by John McClain, Houston Chronicle. John, is the NFL bending over backwards to help the Ravens here?
They are, and why I understand it's because of the health issues they've had. They've had such an outbreak with more players down or on the contract tracing list, and coaches and other employees than any team in the league. But they don't know how much was created by that strength coach, the unnamed strength coach who they say they've disciplined. who was not wearing his mask and was taking off his contact bracelet, which everybody has to wear. And the only reason you take that off and don't wear it is because you're doing something you're not supposed to be. They need to throw the book at him. But in the meantime, they're penalizing the Steelers. Steelers should win this game. It's going to be weird to have one on Wednesday afternoon, but they're doing everything they can to not put a game on that 18th weekend. They know it's coming, but they don't want to do it any earlier than they have to. And the whole key is, the reason they increase the practice squads to 16 players from 10 is if you got a roster, you play. And they make Denver play without a quarterback, and that was their own fault because the players didn't wear their mask and didn't socially distance. And so they got penalized by playing a game without a quarterback. So, but they're not. They are bending over backward to help the Ravens, and they say it's because of safety issues.
Do you think, given the Denver situation, you might see teams like having a quarterback in quarantine all the time now, just so that doesn't happen again?
Well, Bruce Arians, he suggested that right before training camp, and some teams have done that. And we asked Romeo Crennel, the Texans' coach, and he said, well, we're not going to get in that situation because we make sure everybody wears their mask and has their bracelets on and socially distanced. So if you do that, you know, you're not putting yourself in that situation, although sometimes you can't help it because unless people go home, people at home get COVID-19, they either get it from them or they get the victims of contact tracing. They have to be out for 10 days so they can pass 5 consecutive tests. But it's a mess. And when you think about how many people, over 700,000 NFL people have been tested, and it's a minuscule percentage who've tested positive. But now, when the quarterbacks are out, that makes such a difference. I'm excited to see RG3, and I hope he plays well.
John, your thoughts on the 6-game PED suspensions for wide receiver Will Fuller and also cornerback Bradley Roby?
Dumb with a capital D. Both those guys found out yesterday they'd been suspended. The league tells the players and their agents first. Then they inform the team. Texans found out yesterday afternoon when the players put it on Instagram. And they say they unknowingly took a substance they shouldn't have taken, a supplement, by a medical professional who told them it was legal under the NFL standards. Well, that's ridiculous because every player is told from the moment he comes into the NFL, do not put anything in your body without us approving it. And we're talking about seasoned veterans here, not rookies. So they knew what they were doing. And it's costing both of them a lot of money, not just in their salaries for the rest of the season, but also Will Fuller was in the process of negotiating a new contract. And they've taken that off the board, and now they still want to re-sign him. But any contract he signs will have to have bonuses based on being active for games, because either one of these guys gets caught again, they're done for a year. So you're not going to give a guy a big contract unless you protect yourself in that contract. But it's incredibly selfish. It hurts Texans on offense, hurts them on defense. They won 2 in a row. They were hoping to pull an upset of the Colts, and it's just those guys should be ashamed for letting down themselves, their teammates, organization, coaches, and fans.
John, did you have a pretty good sense that after the way the Texans whooped up on the Lions, that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia would shortly be on their way out in Detroit?
Everybody in Detroit was hoping so, and a bunch of the fans found out Deshaun Watson's foundation and donated money because of him thanking him for his role in helping get Matt Patricia fired. Patricia came in there and just turned everybody the wrong way, trying to bully him, players, media, and now he had a losing record, and he'll probably end up back working for Bill Belichick. Although Belichick's son, Steve, is calling the defenses now, so I don't know, would he demote his own son to bring back Patricia? So people in Detroit are so happy. It's kind of like the way they were here when Bill O'Brien got fired, San Francisco when Jim Harbaugh got fired. People had just made everybody so miserable they dreaded coming to work.
And Steve Belichick has a fantastic mullet, by the way. It's next level. Good. John, when do you think the Texans will have a GM? Because I assume that'll happen before the coach, right?
Yeah, their plan, Paul, is to hire a general manager and then a coach. There's 4 teams now already knowing they're going to look for general managers, and there's a lot of top personnel people in different organizations that people believe are ready. There's a lot of former general managers, some who've been successful. They're out of work, and I believe the Texans will go with somebody new who has a lot of experience in personnel for a winning organization.
Yeah, it's interesting. And now, if this game is tomorrow afternoon, the NFL is a powerful. We just saw the numbers for the Washington-Dallas game on Thanksgiving. There weren't many options, but those are 2 bad football teams, and they had 30-some million. How much does it take for a network? Why would they not change tomorrow's game and put it on a different network that's in a nighttime version or time period?
Well, NBC's not giving up that game. NBC is already losing money by not having it in prime time. Why in the world they got to broadcast a tree lighting ceremony and move that game to the afternoon? It's going to cost them a whole lot more money. The reason the NFL is making sure every game gets played is they're in the process of negotiating a new network television contract, and they're doing it before the deals expire. ESPN next year and all the others the year after. And they're trying to get streaming rights done, DirecTV. They're thinking that ABC may want to get back in it after giving up Monday Night Football to ESPN. Every owner gets $295 million now from TV before the season starts. And this new deal could put them up somewhere in $400 million a year. And so that's why they want to accommodate TV as much as they can, especially at this time of year.
I'm just still having a hard time, wrapping my head around the fact that the NFL got bumped to after Days of Our Lives for a show that is Harry Connick Jr. singing Holly Jolly Christmas and people plugging in lights on a tree.
That must be something contractual that nothing else could go there, because why wouldn't they move that? Maybe instead of having 30 million watching the primetime game, they're going to have 100 million watching a tree lighting ceremony, which of course isn't going to happen.
Well, let me tell you something. It's almost like the same amount of feedback and calls and anger they would get would be if you were producing a night when the Lady Bears are supposed to start and the game starts on the broadcast is running late. Paul?
Oh.
Would that not be the case with the tree lighting?
No, it's true. John, I was one time producing back at the radio station, and the Lady Bears played Army, and the men's team played right before them and went into quadruple overtime. And I had 5 different people call me and ask me why couldn't call the U.S. Military Academy and tell them to start the Lady Bears and cancel the other game in the middle of it.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, John.
Thank you, guys. Sic'Em.
We've all had stories. This has been like story day in certain ways, but it's been fun. It's been fun. All right, it's 5:50. Armstrong Sims back with us. We appreciate it. Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoke, David Smoke. What are some things? Mack Rhoades was great. If you didn't hear him, you should go back. And Craig does an amazing job and really hit on a couple of things. He'll go back and take an interview and transcribe it. And Mack Rhoades is one of them, and I think that might be one of the most popular things. You guys write the columns and all that, the show, whatever. But even I'll go back and sometimes go back and read it because it allows me to kind of, okay, I need to make sure I remember he said that, because you know me and my attention span.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mean, for those who didn't listen, you go check out the podcast, help on Sic'Em365.com, and also on Twitter and all that jazz. But basically, the Oklahoma game's on as it stands right now, and they are, planning options for the chance that Oklahoma's outbreak might not get under wraps here in the next 24 to 48 hours, although it appears as though they're trending on the positive side in a positive way. I think the game's going to happen on Saturday. I mean, after talking to Josh, it just doesn't sound like as maybe as grave of a deal as it sounded like earlier in the show. But, if, in fact, Oklahoma were to come out, let's say, tomorrow and say that they're having major issues and they don't know that they can play the game on Saturday, then Mack Rhoades said Baylor's got some teams that they've been talking to or talking about or what have you, and they would likely have a game lined up, but they'd have to know here in the next 24 hours or so. So that's something to definitely monitor, although and I have no insight, but it just feels like the Oklahoma game is going to happen this weekend. To me, I don't know about you guys, but it just feels like it's going to happen this weekend. But in case it doesn't, they will have a game.
I got breaking news. I have learned that J.D. Richards, who had the collision with teammate Moon Urson, 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks ago, where she couldn't walk and was taken to a hospital. Moon Urson, of course, went through concussion protocol. J.D. Richards has been cleared to play tonight for the Lady Bears against USF. 6 o'clock, it's on ESPN+. I just put out a link of how you can watch the game. But J.D. Richards, who we had on yesterday, and even she said, yeah, I'm coming back, but we didn't get the indication she was coming back to play tonight. She was in Tampa.
No, we didn't. I mean, it sounded like it was still something that was a bit of a ways away, not like, another month away or anything, but maybe a couple more games, and it's clearly not the case. So what a remarkable recovery for her, and what I know has been longer with her personally having to deal with it than what it's felt like and just keeping up with it, because it only feels like it's been like a couple weeks or something, and she's already back out there. But no, I know that was scary as she laid out to us yesterday, and that's pretty remarkable, to use that word again, that she's already back out there or will be back out there tonight and suiting up for the Lady Bears. That's great news, and hopefully she just has a healthy game, and I don't care how many points she scores or buckets she defends or whatever. Just hope she comes out of it 100% and stays that way.
Yeah, absolutely. She even said there were times when they said, don't do this, and she willed herself to do, like, okay, today's the day I'm going to, move my big toe. Or much bigger than that, obviously, but that was part of it, That was part of it. So, all right, thanks to a lot of different people today. How much? We got another break to do, Paul?
We can just play it out here at the end whenever you're ready.
Okay, so. All right, thank you very much. So, we ended up adding, when I woke up this morning, I knew I was waiting for a couple of guys to get back with me. Today, we ended up with, the Scott Drew audio about coming back. Armstrong, do you have that bite? We can do that. We got a couple of minutes here. We're a little bit early. This is Scott Drew on just being back with his basketball team.
Man, I'm excited. After 10 days of refereeing fights at home, I can't wait to be back here. That's for sure.
What was that like watching from quarantine? Did you get anxious, or what was it like?
Well, I got really anxious when Flow Hoops would break up or pause or whatever. So, but definitely big leads made it easier to withstand, and obviously very proud of how the guys played. And
so that's Scott Drew. Mack Rhoades telling us about what it was like to deal with him.
calls.
When he didn't have anybody. Because he wasn't practicing, he wasn't with his team, and how many times he took phone call after phone call. And that I'm sure Mack Rhoades just maybe blocked him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who is just so filled with energy. It's amazing. I've never, I don't think, come across anybody quite like that. You'll get like your fitness gurus that are always like, supplemented to the max, that are always super energetic and things like that. But just like as far as like a naturally, just like in the everyday walk of life personality of someone, I've never seen anybody like Scott Drew. He's amazing. And I think, one other thing about Mack Rhoades earlier today was him talking about Jerome Tang filling in and saying that they would love for Jerome Tang to be around for forever, but they just know it's not going to happen. And maybe that's something that's revisited down the line. They reunite down the line many, 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 many years after Scott Drew's, gone. But I did think it was cool to hear, Jerome Tang get a little bit of love as well.
I love that. He's 4-0. Scott better watch it.
Yeah.
And we know he can recruit. We know he can coach. And his personality is very much in tune with Scott's in that he's probably not as he's not as over the top as Scott is when it comes to his enthusiasm, but he is happy, enthusiastic, and he's very easy to be around and talk to, very easygoing. And so that's going to attract a lot of people, because again, not every coach has to be. That's why I think it's funny when everybody thinks that coaches have to yell and be like
Billy Badass,
be like Tom Allen.
Yeah.
At Indiana, who's a good coach. I'm not saying he's not, but like your style works for you. Mm-hmm. And I think that Jerome Tang has a fantastic coaching style. Matter of fact, one night I went to do an interview at the Farrell Center, and I walked in and to find Coach Drew to do the first part of the one I was doing, him and a player, and I can't remember who the player was, but Coach Tang would not let him leave. It was the player I was going to interview, would not let him leave until he hit 50 free throws in a row. And it wasn't one of those things where like he would miss one and Coach Tang would yell at him. It was just the easy going of like, and they got 50. I got to sit there and watch it. It was fascinating to watch him do it.
Jerome Tang, he's a great speaker. He was honored, as were others, including Alvin Brooks, all of them. Jacobs, they've all been honored in a way for what they do. And he has this calmness about him. Mm-hmm. When you have Coach Drew, who might have calmness, but it's in a way where he's almost being tased.
Well, Coach Drew is Coach Drew's like a dog. Like when you open the door and your dog is like, "Oh my God, you're here!"
Yeah,
that's how he is all the time. Yeah. And just loyal and happy and all that.
And it was cool on Sunday evening during the post game when he was asked about their schedule. We were going to fly to Indianapolis. Coach Drew comes in on Tuesday, and you could like that was a big deal because you don't know how that can linger and stretch on. Thanks to Scott Drew. Monterey Baldwin of Shoemaker High School for his time. He committed to Baylor today. Brian Bell, China Spring. They have Carthage, Mack Rhoades, Soonerscoop.com's Josh McQuistion, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, John McClain of the Chronicle, and Anthony Williams, co-founder of Texas Football Showcase when Monterey Baldwin jumped off into the in a 4.49 and then had to run it again, and he did in the same time. All right, thanks to Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. Again, the story, D.D. Richards has been cleared to play tonight for the Lady Bears against the game against South Florida that is on ESPN Plus coming up in less than 5 minutes. I'm David Smoke for Armstrong, Sims, and everyone, our great sponsors. We start another month on Sic'Em 365 Radio. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
A Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.